everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fourtress of, a podcast about movies and TV shows and video games and lots of pop culture nerd things. My name is Oscar. I'll be one of your hosts today, and with me, per usual, are all of your other hosts. We got Alex, Brian, and Devin, all here in the Fortress.
Woo-woo.
Hello, everyone.
We in the building. Let's go.
Full house, baby.
The building. Our respective buildings, of course.
Yeah.
We all live on opposite sides of the planet.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, are we opposite sides of the planet, or just opposite sides of different spaces of the East Coast?
I live in Africa. I don't know about the rest of you.
Well, yeah, I'm in New Zealand, so.
Wow.
Spotty connection.
Cool. The toilets flush the opposite direction in New Zealand?
Yep. They spin the other way. It's real weird.
Nice.
Yeah, how you guys doing? We haven't had the four of us here in a while. Brian, we missed you last week. Glad you're feeling better.
Shat my pants. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's a lot of eyes, a lot of informations.
In case anyone wanted to know what happened to Brian.
Sorry,
there you go.
Apologies. I was sick.
Yeah. With that, first things, listeners, if you want to skip ahead to any section or skip spoilers, check the time codes and all that stuff below. But with that, should we get into our first segment of the week?
We can, but we also have to note that Devin is currently folding laundry while he's doing this podcast.
Chores while we record.
Sorry, I just kept seeing that shirt and it was really bothering me. It was like, it's kind of messed up.
It was a really good fold. It was very
I
neat.
appreciate Devin's multitasking.
Yeah.
Never a minute wasted.
Peak efficiency.
All right, let's get into it. I do first have to address, make a correction from last week's podcast. I made an error that I wasn't aware of. We talked about Avatar wanting to steal back Avengers Endgame's box office record.
Oh,
Apparently, it already did. It did it last last March. Avatar, the first one, re-released in China for like a week and took it back again.
Dang.
And so it already has it.
It's already back on top. That's wild.
Lame.
I had no idea.
Fucking hilarious.
Dang, that sucks.
So yeah, it's just gonna keep rolling.
They wanted that easy China money. They were like, we know they love it.
Did.
We know they want to see it again. Give the people what they want.
I wonder, are Avengers movies like screening in China? I know they're like canceling almost everything that's coming out.
I feel like they used to be, but I think there's been a lot of issues recently because I guess the content in the more recent movies.
Disney doesn't want to censor stuff. Yeah.
They didn't allow Shang-Chi. I don't think they allowed Doctor
Eternals
Strange.
didn't go, I don't think.
Oh no, I'm sorry, maybe not Doctor Strange. That was Saudi Arabia. They didn't like the two moms.
Yeah, they wanted to censor 12 seconds of that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and the Disney. This is off topic, but Disney. I think their CEO said like they're pretty confident that they don't need China's money, which is probably true considering they make billions of dollars anyways.
Yeah, but I mean that's crazy. They make billions of dollars without Chinese money because honestly, that's where most American action movies tend to go to make those big box office numbers. So it's like you're mixing out on probably an incredible chunk of money, but when you're already making,
they got so much money. They could probably release a whole year's worth of movies for free and still make money because they have toys, they have everything going on.
Right.
They have Disney World. Like, how much money those parks make? Like,
right. I mean, I kind of fuck with that you make enough money that you can make a statement without having to. I wish more people would do that. Not that I'm sure it's not necessarily a statement for them, but it's like, I'm not going to censor that just to appease, your government.
I mean, if anything, I feel bad for the people in there that aren't, bigots or anything like that.
Right. You just don't get to see the fucking movie that you want to see.
They can find it, right? They just can't watch it in a theater, but if they really want to see it, they can find it somewhere online. But yeah, I think for Endgame, they should, once Avatar 2 makes 3D a thing again, we just go through that phase for like a few years. Endgame should re-release in 3D for like a month and then take it back 100% again.
Will.
And just have like a little re-release every like 4 or 5 years or something just to keep up.
Can you imagine a 3-hour 3D movie? I would be so sick after that.
Yeah, all right. Let's we'll get over that tangent into our actual first piece of news.
News talk.
Which is FIFA's dead. FIFA's gone. It's gone forever after this year. It's never coming back.
Again.
Devin, how do you feel?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is weird. It's like the two most evil companies on the planet getting together. Well, maybe not the most evil, but
FIFA
one of the most
hated.
hated.
What are the
EA and FIFA? They got to be up there I think EA usually ranks in the most hated company in America every year, but FIFA is also wildly corrupt and very much hated by a lot of people in the world as well.
Interesting.
So this is an interesting breakup, It's like, which one's worse? And it's probably FIFA again.
Wow.
But it's just I like how the guy in charge of EA was like, oh, it's not about money. We just want to like, add more features for the players and do all this stuff, blah blah blah. It was absolutely just about money. Like I think FIFA wants to increase the rights for the name and stuff to $1 billion every World Cup cycle. So I think that's just kind of unsustainable for EA to pay.
And at that point, EA is probably confident that like the amount of money that they make on that franchise a year anyways, they're like, I think we can get away with changing the name and keeping the gameplay, and people will still buy this every fucking year.
Right.
I mean, I can't imagine people are going to not buy it because it's not called FIFA anymore.
It's one of those things you just buy it every year.
It might be harder for them to find if they're not like tapped into but
yeah, that's my only concern is people may not know what the fuck the game is. Because what is it? EA FC?
EA
Sports FC.
EA Sports FC. Like, that doesn't
it just
even
doesn't have the same ring to it. It's not going to have the same ring to it.
EA Sports fucking crap.
But they're going to keep all the names to the clubs and players and all that kind of stuff. Because I think that was a big concern. It's like, well, if you don't have the exclusive rights for everything under FIFA, then... And I think they're still...
Right. Because then it turns into like... Do you guys remember... like how there was Madden, but they also had the college version, which was NCAA.
And you couldn't name
just, like,
the characters.
Numbers, and there were actual players and everything.
Wow.
At that point, at least, you couldn't monetize college athletes.
Yep.
Yeah. But apparently they've already come to agreements with like the domestic leagues and stuff EA has. So I'm not sure exactly how that works, but either way, they are going to have more. They're still going to have the official names and logos and everything in there, but I think it's kind of cool. It could be a good opportunity for them to innovate a little bit because FIFA has been basically the same formula forever. I mean, they add a few more things. The graphics maybe get a little bit better, a little worse every year. But now that they're not maybe limited by some of the things that FIFA kind of require them to do, they might be able to, do some new exciting things. I know that's at least how they're selling it to us now, is saying like, oh, we'll be able to do stuff that the players have been calling out for. So maybe they'll actually do that. I don't know.
Also, FIFA has said that they are also going to continue to make their own games.
Oh, no.
Like, so FIFA will continue. I don't know who they're going to get to do those games.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so we'll see how many, what that looks like if EA still just conquers because they have they've got the decades worth of, like getting the gameplay down to a science, basically. We'll see how FIFA manages on its own.
I just think it'd be cool to have some competition in sports games and maybe not be such a monopoly on those kind of things. I mean, it was cool back when we had, NBA Live and NBA 2K running concurrently at the same time.
Right.
Because you had a choice of what game that you prefer to play. So
I was always a live player, which is funny.
Same. But I don't play FIFA. I don't care about football. But
bring back NFL Blitz.
There was one called PES, like Pro Evolution Soccer.
Yes,
that
it is terrible.
They did get the rights. Yeah, and there was like a graphic eventually, like I think a year or two ago when they still had that, and like their graphics looked way better than FIFA's, but I think eventually PES went up.
I think the gameplay was just not as good.
Yeah, I think the most recent game was like just a buggy mess, and everyone just collectively decided that it was dog shit and buried it. If I remember correctly.
I'm curious if the EA variant will still have like international teams. I don't know if they will or not, but they say that they definitely are going to have all the domestic leagues, so that's really all you need. I mean, the main draw of FIFA is because with couch co-op going down, because we remember in the days of college, FIFA's great when you have like 2v2, stuff like that. But nowadays when you play online, their biggest thing is Ultimate Team, where you like build a team and you get like cards, like you collect cards and put a team together.
Is that where the microtransactions are?
Yeah, that sounds very microtransaction-y.
Yeah, so I mean that's definitely FIFA's main thing now. So I wonder if they'll definitely keep that up. I know EAFC. I wonder if the FIFA variant will.
They should just call it EA Sports Madden Soccer.
Gonna play some John Madden Soccer.
Or just like Landon Donovan, the game. Like Donovan, like who's
Bend
our
it
best
like
player?
Beckham 2023.
Yeah, Beckham video
I play
game.
that game.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they might as well.
Call it Messi. Just call it the GOAT.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. They still call Madden. I mean, rest in peace, John.
I know,
Madden.
right?
But it's like weird that that was just accepted that that's the football game that you play. But they didn't do that for any other of the sports games.
No, yeah,
it's not Beckham 2022. Like,
I bet you that floated around EA, and then they're like, somehow landed on Sports FC.
Yeah,
they need to be fired because they are.
People are just gonna call it FIFA still, anyways.
Yeah,
probably. It's like it's not gonna matter until whatever FIFA comes out with. Then it's gonna be like, wait, which FIFA are you talking about?
Yeah. I cannot wait for FIFA to try to make a video game that's going to be so delicious when it comes out.
I hope they get the most random company to make the most dog shit game. Like, I hope it's just so uninspired. and just trash.
I can't wait for it to be horrible. It's gonna be bad, I bet, but we'll see.
Next, speaking of games that might be buggy messes, real quick. Gotham Knights had a bit of a preview about Nightwing and Red Hood, and I watched it, and I was sadly underwhelmed compared to their last gameplay, which looked a lot better than this. And this was right after they announced that it's gonna be only next gen, which after watching this, I was like, why?
It doesn't look like that amazing.
That was a really bummer. I was planning on holding out to get the PlayStation 5 for another year or two. And honestly, I was really excited about this game. Like on paper, this is everything that I want in a video game. It's like RPG elements, action adventure, jump in, jump out, co-op. But
Batman.
Yeah, also Batman. Like I loved the Arkham series. Those were a lot of fun, but I don't know. The first couple things they put out looked dope, but this one just really was like a little bit, a lot like kind of lackluster, pretty slow paced.
It looks bland.
Yeah, it just doesn't look super exciting like the first couple trailers.
This game is going through hell development wise. It's looking like I don't know anything under the hood when it comes down to it, but just based on the delays and the way stuff is looking, I'm definitely feeling like they probably had a pretty big idea in mind and they had to scale back pretty like considerably. Right. And now we're kind of seeing the elements of what happens when you do that. I think another problem is I think they were trying too hard to work on the previous gen versions and try to get them to work well, and they just couldn't do it. And they feel like they wasted a lot of time with that as well. So I think they just fucked themselves over. So it's probably going to end up being
yeah, because this game comes out in October.
Yeah,
I wonder what in there is like the next gen quality. Like the graphics didn't look that spectacular. Like maybe it's just the world building, but like it feels very current gen, or I guess last gen.
Right. At least from what I've seen as well. But I think it's like things like the ocular effects, you know, they're using things with lighting. That's a whole different system that you have to work around. So you have to rebuild that. I'm looking at some of these screenshots. I'm looking at some of those like fire effects and stuff. That probably takes a lot of processing power that PlayStation just doesn't have. The old PlayStation, Xbox One. Other than that, I'm sure it wouldn't have. I don't know what like stuff they're using in order to make this game. So it could just be that the engine just doesn't work very well with all that stuff.
Like I appreciate them like slightly going a different way by making it like a bit of an RPG, but it's like you had all of the Arkham stuff already made. like why was it so hard to tweak that a little bit into doing whatever it is?
Well, is it the same studio or is it a completely different?
I mean, it's the same studio that made the Arkham Origins one, I believe. So not the three main ones that Rocksteady made, but that other side project one.
That one feels like the same. Like it feels exactly the same as the other ones, the Origins.
Right. Exactly.
Interesting.
So I just think it's also a thing who's like, I think they, like most things these days, everything just has to get bigger and bigger.
We're going to start from the ground up.
Yeah. And it's just like, you could have just made like this world didn't have to be as big as it is. You could have made like an Arkham City size or even like an Arkham Asylum size. Just make it like a solid ass game. But it's
everything
like, no, we're
going to
make it a big world
now, Oscar.
Yeah, that's the detriment of AAA games now, is you kind of have to like hit a checklist of things that are supposed to be in a AAA game. 1 is open world.
Right.
2 is RPG elements. 3 is multi-cast of characters that you all lovable, have a lot of voice acting and quips and stuff like that. That's just like things that you now have to have, which is unfortunate.
I hate that I love those things though. Like it's such a gimmick and a cliche, but like, yeah, give me those things.
I mean, when it's done well, it's awesome, but it's not done well so much anymore. Usually what happens is you have a very tight-knit game that'll probably do really well, but then, you know, it goes back to the drawing board because they've been asked to add all these things and they're done, you know, kind of half-heartedly, and then that leaves you with just something like Gears of War 5 is a really bad example of that, where it's like this probably would have been a decent game if they weren't forced to add like 20 more hours of gameplay of just stupid fluff that no one wanted.
Yeah, they did like a half open world, and it's like you don't really, all you do is kind of drive through it. You don't really actually explore it much.
It doesn't feel good to explore, and I think that's so useless. Don't even have these caves and caverns and everything that I can go into if it's not fun. Like, waste my time. So yeah, this game probably gonna suck. It's probably gonna be a solid 5 out of 10.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that this didn't get as love that like Rocksteady got like a whole year's delay for their Suicide Squad one coming next year. Whereas this one's like, nah, you got October. Sorry, that's it. Get it done.
All right, we'll see.
We'll see. I'm waiting to see what the other 2 characters' little demo looks like. Maybe they'll maybe it'll be further in the game. Like this would, like they said that it's pretty early on in the gameplay experience. Maybe that's why like it just looked a little slow. But we'll see.
And boy, did it look slow.
They still haven't announced that or at least in this one, I don't know if they did previously that it can do 4-player co-op. They said you could do co-op, but they only showed 2 characters right now.
I was about to say, I assumed it was 2-player. Doing 4 players is probably going to be hard on the system.
I mean, that makes sense. There's 4 people to pick from.
There's 4. I mean, if you could do 2 to 4, there you go.
Right.
But I don't know.
I hope so.
We'll see.
That'd be super cool.
I wonder if you have to be a different character in order to team up.
Oh, I'm sure you can. Yeah. You can't have like 4 Red Hoods.
All right. Next piece of news. Brian, you just brought this up, showed us, and we were all fucking dumbfounded. Didn't know what the hell was going on. So tell us about this weird Blizzard Activision quote unquote diversity tool.
This is kind of a mix of a couple of things. But basically, the grand scheme of things is big companies, big corporation just doesn't understand how to properly, like, I don't know, show diversity without doing really just nonsense, far left, lots of money, science, all this bullshit that doesn't matter. When literally, if you want to learn how to make characters more diverse, talk to the diverse people and talk to the people that aren't the same white men that you're always talking to at the boardroom. Blizzard, and along with the Activision, I guess, makes Call of Duty as well, but they've used this tool that was created by MIT that is basically called the Diversity Space Tool. It has been used to kind of, I guess, make their characters more diverse in video games. Overwatch 2 is one where it's been used most recently, which is unfortunate because Overwatch actually does have a good bit of diversity in the game, and I appreciate what it's done for that. But the company has a lot of people of marginalized group that could just be asked about how to make a character that, best represents them. This is like they use this weird math. There's like a weird matrix tool to what is this? They got culture, ethnicity, age, ability, body type, and gender identity and sexual orientation in this like weird graph. And it's trying to like hit certain points, and they use weird math to do it. It's not good.
Kind of like a Venn diagram algorithm.
Right. I'm trying to think. There's like video games that used to use that kind of stuff. Or it's like if you play the Gundam Wing video games, like this guy has a lot more strength. And it'll use that. It looks stupid. It's not necessary. We don't need people studying and writing a whole dissertation about the matrix of diversity when you can just literally go up to a black person and be like, what would be a good black character? Boom. Mm-hmm. You just save at least $300,000 right there. Like,
right.
I don't...
Just loop in some artists from those backgrounds. I don't think it's that hard. I want to hear somebody from MIT explain the numbers. Like, I really want to just hear, like, what does a 0.34 on like sexual orientation mean?
Right. What does that mean? Is that
what
gay?
Is that?
How does this work?
You're a little gay.
Is that a little gay?
You're a little gay.
I don't understand. What is it?
I don't know.
And that's the thing. The article, it's on Kotaku for anyone that's interested in kind of like going further into it. Breaks down some of the information, but it gets even more convoluted. And it's like identity isn't really that convoluted of a situation when it comes down to it. If you are open-minded and know diverse people. So I just really don't understand why people will go through all these. Like, what makes me mad is I 100% see a person in a boardroom, certainly a white person, looking at this board and showing this off to people in the boardroom and then watching them be like, oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. Let's use this. I'm sure not a single one of those people were of color. I'm sure not a single one of those people. Maybe one was a woman, but it would be a white woman. I bet none of them were part of the LGBTQ plus community. Like, it's just like, You have the solution to the problem, but people in big core do everything they can to do backflips over like the problem and then find a worse solution. It's like, I don't know. It's akin to being like, oh man, there's a lot of traffic on this road. Let's maybe we should make more lanes for this road. And it's like, no, we shouldn't do that. We should make everyone have airplanes, but don't give any of them the ability to know how to fly an airplane anymore. So now they're crashing and killing each other. It's just like that wasn't the solution to the problem. There was an easy one, and you made a worse problem. Like
now you've got another problem.
Now
you
have another problem.
Fly airplanes.
And that kind of goes into our other topic. It's talking about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, another game where it was basically their request in that game to ask for like a black and or female lead, and apparently those claims were rejected. I'm assuming by the higher ups when it came down to it. One of the quotes was that we already had 2 black people in the game already. And then also Rey is a woman from the most recent trilogy of Star Wars movies. And we can't do that. too many women already.
You know what Star Wars doesn't have enough of is white male protagonists.
Yes, but guys, to be
There's
fair,
a big shortage.
this one is redhead.
So like we already have too many black people. Like as if you have more than 3 black people, the world explodes. Like it's like dividing by 0 or some shit. And it's like, you never heard anyone say like the opposite. Like you said, like you never said anyone like, well, Luke Skywalker's a white dude, so we can't do that again.
Like, right.
Yeah, they did that 18 more times with Kyle Katarn and Kyle and all these other characters. And it's like
maybe go for like, somebody Asian, South American, literally
anything
Islander.
else.
I mean, just do. You don't have to say.
Especially
like
I get it if it's like they're literally a part of their family. Like obviously, like the homeboy Kylo Ren had to be white because he's 2 white people's kids. But it's like with Jedi Fallen Order, it's a completely new original protagonist.
Would have been a really great opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
To be fair though, I think if they had already locked up that actor, I think the actor of Cal did a good job. But
yeah,
I don't have any shade on him. But I think that it just seems kind of just weird to use that logic. Like if you're gonna say, oh, we already have this actor in mind and we kind of want to build it around him and we think he's really great for it, that's one way to rationalize that choice, right? But if you say, no, we've already got our quota.
And that's
like,
the
we
thing.
already met our quota.
It's not weird to use that logic.
Do it.
It's racist to use that logic. That is racism.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have too many black people. That's not
like, but guys,
thing.
no, they filled their quota of colored people by making them all aliens, so you can't tell that they're actual colored people.
That's the diversity.
We're gonna make them allegories for racism instead of just putting actual different race people.
All the side characters.
When I first saw this story, I immediately thought like maybe this is just me rationalizing it in my mind or like coming up with like a hilarious better example. But I totally thought that like minor spoilers if anybody hasn't played the game or doesn't know what it's about, but there is a black female character in here who allegedly used to be a Jedi on the good side, and then she turns to the dark side, and she has this huge plot-driven struggle with the light side and the dark side. She ends up helping you out, but she almost goes back to the dark side and this and that. So it feels like that character was kind of like the embodiment of this choice. Like she was a Jedi. They turned the council turned their back on her. She went evil, but inevitably she is still like down for the cause. But that felt like a funny Easter egg that they left in, or maybe it's just me interpreting it. I just think that's a hilarious example of the backstory there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to be honest, though, we all know that the Empire is probably racist. I mean, they're basically space Nazis. So that like that they should only have like they shouldn't like anyone that's of color. So your protagonist should be people.
Well, I think in like most of the canon and stuff, they're like racist towards aliens. I don't know if they're racist towards
what is their MO? I know they want to like rule the galaxy or whatever, but like what is their?
I think they're just I don't know. Like, I think the deeper you go into the geopolitics of the Empire, it doesn't
probably
really
just wants to rule the world.
You just try to control resosources and have all the power.
Blow up a planet every now and then.
Maybe they're not racist. They just want to be the boss, and whoever gets in their way is dead.
Like someone's like, I'd like to join the Sith, and they're like, no, we already have too many black people.
He's like, that's racist. Like, no, it's like we filled our quota. We're not racist.
You see them? We got Tyrone and Jeff over
Look
there.
at Darth Vader. Black. He's nothing but a black guy's voice and wears a big black suit. Come on.
Darth Maul's a black guy. They do got a lot of black people.
Black is a strong word to use there, but sure.
Yeah.
I feel like even though Ray Park is, I don't think black, but Darth Maul's black.
Darth Maul's black. He's got black Air Force One energy.
Darth Maul's black, dude.
Mufasa.
He's like Skeeter from Doug. Yeah. You just know he's black. No one has to tell me. I just know.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's all unfortunate. We'll see if they correct this in any way in their future games, because we know EA's working on a lot of Star Wars stuff. Probably Jedi Fallen Order 2, obviously.
Yeah,
and then that person from Naughty Dog is working on one too, right? For EA.
Yeah, she's working on Amy Hennig's working on a big Star Wars game.
And it's just like if you're gonna have like it's not a crime to have white characters in games, but just change your logic, dude. Right. Like, do not tell somebody when somebody asks you, like, hey, maybe we should throw, a more diverse protagonist in there. Maybe just don't use that logic of like, oh, it's a quota. No, we already filled it. It's like, maybe just be like, oh, I just really love this, the story of this person, this actor, whatever. I don't know. But just like, That's what I feel like a lot of this stuff comes down to, is just like people just using really bad trash logic to like justify.
There doesn't seem like any logical explanation, honestly. So at least they're being truthful in their racism, so we can like call them out on it.
Yeah, like there's no like nobody's mad if you say, okay, like yeah, we get that. But it's like, but when you make it a bad reasoning, it's like, well, now I'm really pissed. Like I didn't have a problem with it. Now it's like, what?
Like, yeah, you're right. In the same way, not every character has to be a white dude. Not every character has to be a black woman. Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, just like maybe entertain those ideas some more. Because I think I've played every white person I can.
Don't immediately shut it down because you think you've done your job, you know?
Right, because you think you've done enough because there's 2 black people in there. Look at them. Right.
Right. No.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah.
We're just checklists on marginalization. It's awesome.
Basically. Ugh. All right, last quick piece of news. Rest in peace to the iPod. Apple has announced that they are no longer going to continue making them, which all of us basically acknowledge that we didn't realize they were still doing.
Shucks. I was really looking forward to the new one this year.
I would love to see those sales, and if they were over $1,000 worth of sales on the iPod.
I can't remember the last song that I downloaded to put on anything.
Yeah,
I know, right? It is kind of like a cool like time capsule, considering that was like Apple's major piece of hardware for a while was the iPod, and just just the name iPod, like the fact that it's gonna be going away.
Isn't it crazy that there was an era where the iPhone wasn't their biggest thing? It was like everybody had an iPod, and then like before they got into the phone game.
I just remember playing games on the iPod Color. Was that a thing? Or iPod Nano? It had one of the ones that had color. Finally had like you could download games onto it.
They were terrible because you had to use that scroll wheel.
Yeah.
I remember playing Breakout.
I think they should bring that scroll wheel back.
Oh god, what a terrible design, dude! It was so small, I couldn't see anything on that nonsense.
Then they also had, what was the other one that was just like it looked like a little thumbtack or something?
That's the
shuffle.
Square. You couldn't only have like 25 songs.
Shuffle. There we go.
You could only shuffle.
You had to like switch it out your songs every once in a while because like you only
People
had
like those though.
They loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're good for exercising. I heard.
Rest in peace, iPod. You will be missed.
Or not.
Yeah. Maybe I'll just buy one just for the shits and gigs before
they're gone, Brian.
Have a collector's
Although
item.
now they're just iPod touches, so they're just phones without the phone capability.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks just like a phone.
I already got one. Fuck.
All right. That is our last piece of news, everyone. We did it once again. Shall we move on to our main topic of the week?
Good one this time.
But first, we've done it again. We were trapped in another fortress. This one is pretty interesting. I don't know how else to describe it. It's full of a lot of Oscar Isaac, many different versions.
There's
of
lots of personalities going on.
It feels kind of like we're in a psych ward.
We're in a pyramid.
No, you're not actually in a psych ward. You just think you're in a psych ward.
We just think we are. Because we're in the fortress of
Moon
Knight.
Oscar Isaac acts his ass off for 6 episodes.
Yeah, I don't know if he has like a catchphrase.
I am vengeance.
Who else is in
the
here?
night. I am Batman. Oh, I mean Moon Knight.
Even though he's bright white.
Yeah.
Yeah, listeners. So we're circling back to the series Moon Knight after Doctor Strange last week because they both came out the same week. The finale and Doctor Strange. So we're gonna take a little bit and talk about the whole series of Moon Knight. Overall, before we get into spoilers, this show is pretty good. It's not just the
pretty
best
good?
Marvel Disney show, but I will say it probably has my favorite episode, just solo one-off episode of probably all of the Marvel Disney shows that have come out so far. And we'll talk about it. But overall, I think Oscar Isaac's fucking amazing in the show. I think he's fucking so good. And I think the costume looks dope. But we'll talk more about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I'd rank it probably third behind WandaVision and Loki, and then I'd say it like occupies the third spot for me of the Disney Plus shows, which is not saying, but it's not bad though. But I think, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I think it took me a little bit to get into it, and there's definitely some moments that felt very campy, but I think all the Disney Plus shows have had a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, did really love the suit design and kind of, I'm still not really sure what exactly Moon Knight's power, like where his limit is, because his powers are vague as hell this whole time. It's like,
I don't think he knows.
He can do that. Yeah. He just kind of does whatever he needs to be able to do in each scene. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought Oscar Isaac was really good. I've heard his His British accent was horrible, though. So.
It's fucking trash. But now I get why. I mean, and we'll talk about that. I feel like in the thing. But yeah, the first thing when I first turned on the first episode, I was like, "What the fuck is that accent?"
Cheers. Like, it just felt so wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was wrong.
I thought it was really great. Aside from his accent, I really, really enjoyed the show. I loved how it was like a conversation on mental health yet again, kind of like WandaVision.
Mm-hmm.
I love the psychological elements and like reading into what is like really going on. I felt like a huge mystery up until the last like 2 episodes, which was really fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of binged it and watched it in a couple of weeks instead of just the 6 weeks or 8 weeks that it all took place.
Mm-hmm.
How many episodes? No, 6 episodes.
Six,
I really enjoyed it. I think I liked it a whole lot, but I think I did like Loki and WandaVision more just because they were a little bit like bigger scope and scale, which I enjoy in my Marvel things these days. But I think it had some of the best acting that I've seen in anything Marvel's done.
Yeah, man.
And probably just because Oscar Isaac and what's the
Layla's
Ethan
name?
Yeah, Ethan Hawke. I love Ethan Hawke. He's a funny actor.
Oh yeah.
He's like he's hit or miss, but something about him
yes, very much so.
I just love seeing him. Whether he does a good job or a bad job, I just think he's like such a fun actor to watch on screen. Like I don't really take him very seriously, but in this he did like a fucking fantastic job. So I really thought the acting was phenomenal, and the story and watching the mystery unfold was really great.
I think I'm closer to where you are, Alex. I really enjoyed this show.
Nice.
One of the biggest reasons why I really enjoyed this show is because it didn't feel so fucking Disney. It felt like its own brutal. Contained show that I could show to someone that,
that's true.
Yeah, the brutality, there's a lot of cursing, it was very dark, it was a very psychological thriller.
Oh, but just how it was like kind of standalone. Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I could show this to someone that doesn't know anything else about Marvel and they would still probably enjoy the show as its own self-contained thing. I don't know that I can do that with any other Disney show that's come out yet, any other Marvel show.
WandaVision was kind of like that. I know a handful of people that don't watch any superhero movies but really enjoyed WandaVision.
Yeah, but even then you like still miss some context just based on not knowing the characters.
Right.
Which I feel like you just can't, of course, miss with this because it's a brand new character introduced at this point. There's that. I think it kind of had maybe the opposite issue that I had with WandaVision, maybe less so though, and that it started a little bit slow. And at first I was kind of like, I'm having a little bit of trouble getting to it. I think if I didn't binge it and I just watched it like week by week, I probably would have been annoyed for the first couple episodes.
I could agree with that.
Once it really found its footing, it like found its footing. Whereas WandaVision, I felt like kind of dampered down. Its issue was it started out very different and taking a lot of risk. And then it kind of turned into just a very generic kind of show.
I also think this has the benefit of only being 6, whereas I think because Wanda, I think was 9. Yeah. So there might have been like time they had to extend, and this got to be a little nice, tight, concise.
This was a really nice length.
Yeah, I think so too. I love the show. I'd put it up there, probably higher than WandaVision for me. Maybe lower than Loki, or maybe neck and neck with them. I just think that it felt fresh enough. I was very worried about getting that Marvel treatment and it just being another generic ass show. I don't want to say generic but it's, it has that formula, and this show didn't feel like it followed that formula. And of course, Oscar Isaac did amazingly. Every time he was on the screen, I was in love with it.
He was on screen a lot.
Yes, multiple times sometimes.
It's always interesting when there's actors playing like different versions of the same person or different characters or whatever. But I found like until the last episode, I think the last episode I was like, I had to remind myself, I was like, this is just Oscar Isaac. This is just one person.
Yeah.
It felt literally like 2 separate characters.
Every time there was a different version of himself or a different episode highlighting a different character, I'm like, okay, we're getting into like this actor, this character. It's like, man, I really miss this one actor and this other character. But I'm like, wait, it's the same fucking person. And when he's having conversations with himself and stuff, I'm like, man, I'm just so invested, and I'm remembering like, wait, he's acting into nothing. He's like looking at a dummy screen or something. Like, he's not looking at anybody probably, but he's doing such a phenomenal job.
Yeah, that was a great the way they did that. They did that really well.
We'll circle back to that, because there's a pretty interesting little tidbit to him acting, who he's acting with in certain episodes. I think with that, let's get into spoilers. I just want to start off with the show that Ethan Hawke's character, I love how they start out with him putting the glass in his shoes.
Yeah, was he doing that the whole time? Because, man,
I think so. You can if you really listen. I listen to it with headphones for the most of the time. If you really listen, especially when he kicks the soccer ball in one of the episodes,
I forgot about
especially
that.
when he's walking, you can hear the glass sound effect in a lot of the sound
it's
design.
Just so funny to
out.
think about.
Really
it.
cool.
You would bleed out after like 2 days of doing that shit. He's doing that every day.
Even when he like in the big at the end when they're like just like cosmic fighting and shit. I just always imagine he still got glass in his shoes.
Yeah, he doesn't do a lot of running though. He's got a cane for support, so like he's taking his time. That's why he's got so many
one
employees.
moment where at the very end when Moon Knight and him, there's that awesome shot of them like attacking midair and the moon's behind him. I was like, he got glass in his shoes.
I feel like, when he's talking to Amit and he's like, I thought I did my penance. He's like, well, what did you do for your penance? Like, well, release you, but also I walked around with glass in my shoes the whole time. She would have been like, okay, you know what? That's enough. We're going to balance your scales. Like, I think how many days did you do that for? Like 2? He's like, a few weeks, like a month or a year. Like, okay, yeah. After like, maybe like a week, I'd say like that's,
I mean, this is going right to the finale, but so you brought it up. I will say, I did appreciate that he was like committed to like, I'll die. Like this is he wasn't like one of those villains that at the end where she's like, I'm going to take you. And he's like, no, please. No. He was like, fuck it. I believe in this wholeheartedly. So I was like, I appreciate that.
I think he knew how to like manipulate her though. I think he was like, he knew that if she was pious enough,
like,
she would choose him.
I'll act like I'm going to give myself up.
I think he knew how to just push her buttons to get her to pick him as her avatar.
He probably had his fingers crossed.
Yeah.
He had his fingers crossed.
But circling back to the beginning, you get the little Nemo Easter egg with his goldfish for one thing. I was like, all right, I see what you're doing there, Disney. Fish with one fin? Okay.
Got a bad little fin. Should have been a clownfish. They should have really put it on the nose. But no, there's no way that what's his face that he'd be able to afford that kind of fish. I'm sure that fish is expensive. And this man's life fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Steven. But poor both of them. But like, I did like how you start out with Steven though. And how it throughout the first half of the series, it's a mystery as to who is the original, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like whose body who is it, basically?
Also, a superhero that's not based in New York City for once.
I mean, he will be.
True, very
true. He typically is, but sadly, it's going to get there to a point.
New York City needs it. You need as many superheroes as you can get.
But
like 20 in
yeah,
New York City.
I did love the whole they really delved into the Egyptian origin of the character and everything, even down to his costume, which I guess like the coolest thing for me in that as far as that first episode goes is they get right into him being Moon Knight in the first episode. They don't have to wait like 5 episodes in for him to put the suit on. It's like end of first episode, he's in the suit, and I dug it. And for the suit, as far as the suit goes, I really like the suit. I do. Like, and I understand that he's like he looks like a mummy, the wraps and like the tone of it. But I do love how white it looks in the comics more than it does in this. Obviously, they went for the sandy tones, which makes sense. But just on the page, him in that full white suit in pitch black looks dope as shit.
Slight aside, I know they do often. This might not be why they did it in this comic book specifically, because I know a lot of Marvel comics were in color. But I know in Dragon Ball Z, the original time that Goku went Super Saiyan is because he didn't want to keep painting in Goku's hair because it takes so much ink to do so. So he started just making the hair white.
It was taking too long too.
Yeah,
right?
to do like each paint
funny.
On. Yeah, so they just made his hair white when to make him go Super Saiyan. That was favorite thing.
That's such a hilarious explanation for such a huge part of the series.
Yeah.
Right. The Hulk has a similar origin because I think in the comics he was gray. He's definitely gray at one point, and it's either it was an accident or it was easier to make a consistent green. That was the thing; they couldn't make a consistent gray for the Hulk, but they could apparently make a consistent green, which is how he ended up just being green. So
green all the time.
It's so funny how those things.
That's awesome.
About.
Yeah, that is cool. I liked his suit a lot. I liked his like armor plate that was like wrapped up on the front, and he had like I guess 1 or 2 batarangs that he could pull out of that. Like, is he supposed to have other
batarangs?
They're moonarangs.
Well, he also had like nightsticks, but maybe that was like the other variant of the suit. But like I feel like he only used
moon sticks.
The moonarangs.
I don't know. I'm just
I think they are called moonarangs, though. Yeah.
Do they really? Oh God.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're actually called moonarangs.
You got to call them moon
That's
stars
funny.
or something. Come on, you can't call them moonarangs. I mean, come on. No.
That's very Sailor Moony.
His suit had like a very vague amount of stuff it could do. It's like, okay, he's got nightsticks now. It's like, okay, he's flying now. Like, didn't know what he was going to pull out next.
The flying thing is what kind of bothered me, because it was like, you ain't ever been able to do that before, and then next thing I know, you're just fucking jetpacking all the way to Cairo. Where did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're just like, oh, just spread your rings and just fly. Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah.
I took it as the god. What's the god
Khonshu.
that's like in charge of him or whatever? Khonshu.
Yeah.
He was like, well, you need like an extra boost. Like we are like at the last limit. So let me like
He dribbled
physically help you, like
a little
give
bit
you
more
a little
magic.
Bit more.
And he's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a bird
sprinkle,
skull,
sprinkle.
so like he should be
He
able
put
to
a
fly
big
himself.
gust of wind under his butt.
Yeah, I also thought so. Going into like the plot or the backstory or whatever, I thought it was really cool that this is just a battle between gods and deities, and they're using these avatars, these people to inhibit their body and use them as their fists and
I've heard of this
fury.
before. Where have I heard this before? Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh! It's the entire plot of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
Literally
really?
Egyptian gods taking over people's
interesting.
bodies. That's what Yu-Gi-Oh! is. Yugi has his body taken over by an Egyptian god.
And they were also
Wow.
Egyptian gods.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
that was the same-
This is
same
Yu-Gi-Oh!
mythology.
Moon Knight is Yu-Gi-Oh!
That's fucking
Damn.
hilarious. Wow.
Yeah, they
Do you
Gotcha,
remember
though.
which god Yu-Gi-Oh is being possessed by?
I have
I
no
forget.
fucking idea. I have no idea. I watched this TV show 20 years ago as a kid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I totally forgot that's what happened.
That is literally your fight gods.
Quick aside,
Yeah.
Yugi is he's possessed the whole show?
Not the whole show. So when he's short like that, that's when he's just Yugi. When he gets tall and gets that deep voice like this, that's when the god comes out of him.
Whenever
And
he's
his
actually
eyebrows
playing the
get
card
angry.
game.
Yeah.
I thought that show was just about cars. I had no idea.
I mean, they are still playing cards.
That's
Yeah, but it's like
fucking
this
hilarious.
old archaic game that the Egyptian gods used to play, and they have like these big vendettas against each other, and Yu-Gi-Oh has to somehow just fight these
Right.
people, and it's like all
What
these
the
people are just
fuck?
like big ass grand gods, and
Yeah.
then it's just this little kid that's like, "Hey, I like to play cards."
And then they get those battle deck things. I used to know kids that there was like a kid or two at school that had the
Yeah.
battle deck thing.
Or on the
And they would
Yeah.
actually like bring them out and be like, let's do it, like
Yeah, and those kids got beat up.
Yeah. Of all the things that my
My
mom did
friend
not
had
get
one.
for me as a child, I'm really glad she did not get that from my Christmas list.
Yo,
Real glad
I would
never
die
had
to
that.
have one right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that show and those cards had such like a, at least for me, it had such a peak. Like it was so cool for so quick, and then like the next day I was like, no, that's
Gone.
not cool anymore.
Disappeared.
Yeah.
People still play the card game though; it's still very popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember having fun.
I
Yeah.
actually knew how to play it, unlike Pokemon.
I didn't know how to play any of them. I just knew everyone wanted a blue eyes white dragon. Why are we
Yeah,
talking
Oh,
about
yeah,
Yugi?
I played the card game a lot.
I just wanted to remind everybody that this show, or Yu-Gi-Oh, definitely stole from probably I don't know if the original Moon Knight was this close to this, but I guess
Which
it kinda,
came
had this
first?
thing. It was definitely Moon Knight for sure. I think that came out in the 70s.
Oh, that's so
Mm.
funny. One more point about his costume that I have to point out. I love that his white eyes look amazing.
Yeah.
It's what
they
Batman
did. They did a
should
good
have
job
had
with
like
that.
this
Yeah.
entire time, and they just stuck with it,
Yeah.
and it looks great.
And they really look like they're coming from like deep in his like, I don't know, like, magic, like the magic kind of element of it. I really liked how they did his eyes.
Yeah. As far as the first episode goes, well, I guess the major like action piece highlight is that big car chase, which I'll be honest, looked like crap. I was really worried about the rest of this show. There's a specific shot with a log truck that looks incredibly, terribly CGI, and I was like, "Oh no!"
The CGI was shoddy in a few places of this show that made
Yeah,
me
it wasn't the best, but it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it is a TV show. Whatever.
That was the worst it's
Mhm.
gotten. Mostly because I was like, Marvel, y'all have done better than this in other shows on the same thing. So I was like, I don't know if they were like, this is the first episode, let's save it all for the finale or what. But just that in particular. Other than that, I thought that whole sequence was amazing where he's constantly blacking out. I love the way they did that.
Yes.
When
yeah,
he would
visually is really powerful.
That was cool.
yeah.
Now, do you think it was in that first blackout or like how, well, I guess
I think it was Jake at this point every time.
You think it was that him
Yeah.
every time?
because he's murdering people.
If
I think
people were
when,
dying,
when
it was
there's
Jake, for
blood,
sure.
it's Jake.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I thought,
yeah.
because like at first you're thinking it's probably Mark, but then
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly when they say like, oh, that wasn't me either, and then you're starting to think maybe there's a third person,
hmm
but yeah, I guess maybe it was.
They
him the
really
whole
wait a
time.
long time to introduce that third person, which is obvious at the post credits.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they alluded to it quite a few times actually, but they
Yeah,
never
totally,
actually
totally.
they didn't do it. And maybe I'm trying to think because I've watched finish the show very recently, like yesterday. So I'm still kind of processing how I feel about the way that they did that because you don't have to make it so on the nose that it's like, oh, we knew there's a third person at this point. A couple of
Right,
times it was
right.
referenced, but they never actually like showed him like him existing in his own place, like having his own scene where he just exists without having to be. It always had to be a blackout that even like we don't even get to see. I guess that's fine.
I think that's supported by the story. Like none of the characters, aside from Khonshu, who's pretty ominous, no one in our story knows about this person, so it makes sense for us to not be able to see it.
Right.
And I think they do a good job of like hinting at it, but quickly cutting to a new exciting thing that's happening. So you kind of like forget to worry about who that third person is.
I think for a few episodes, they definitely like mentioned it, like that they both were confused, and then you kind of forgot about it. And then I think in the last episode, they definitely brought it back up of like, oh, we both blacked out. Like, what just happened?
They skipped the best fucking part.
And then, and then you recall it again. You're like, oh, now.
And that is one thing that by that first episode I was worried about, because like Moon Knight, the comic, is particularly brutal. Like he kicks the shit out of a lot of people. And when that first sequence, when you miss it all, I was like, this better not be the whole show, that you miss all of the ass kicking from Moon Knight. And for the most part, like they do a decent job. And it's not until the finale where I finally like actually cheered out loud. There's one particular shot with Mr. Knight, and it's just a clean one shot of him like with taking out like six dudes in a row.
With his nightsticks.
I was like, that is all I needed from this show, and they gave it to me in that finale. I was like, yes, that was amazing.
That was one of my favorite parts, when Steven was like more confident and able to beat some people up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like his suit. Talking about the suit one last time.
I really love his suit. That's
I don't
hilarious.
know. It reminds me of something that makes me feel really uncomfortable. I'm trying to think of what like.
Dude, I found my new Halloween costume.
Oh, God.
Nice.
I don't know why I just hate it so bad.
It reminds me of Rorschach from...
maybe that's it. Maybe that's
Watchmen.
Yeah.
I can't remember if Rorschach wears a suit, but just the bag over
he wears like a trench coat.
Yeah,
like a fedora.
You're right.
But yeah.
But he's got like a white with the blackish mask though. So yeah, I can see the similarities. And he's brutal, obviously.
Yeah, and the cool thing is I don't think they had to CGI much. I think the main suit, they had like CGI a lot of that, maybe. Like this one could just be practical, and then they just got to do the eyes. So he was able to do those practical kind of action sequences and stuff. Because just the guy in a white suit.
Yeah, obviously, it's easy to put a stunt double in there when they're wearing a mask. So it's like you can shoot these things and not have to cut all the time. So that's great.
Yeah, I don't know. It felt goofy to me, so I wasn't super into it. It kind of felt like, I don't know, if you're like making a create a character or something, and like the default thing is just a dude in a white suit or something until you change the features. It just felt weird to me.
I mean, to be fair, the first time you see it, Mark does make the comment, which is great. He's like, "Why do we look like a demented, what's his Colonel Sanders or something like that?" So I was like,
that shit was hilarious.
Yeah,
I thought it was hilarious also because he was like, "Well, you guys were like telling me to summon a suit, so like I don't know, I thought we should look nice, you know? It's a suit, right? I did it right. It's a suit."
Steven is amazing. He was so funny.
Yeah,
he was my favorite character.
Both of them have such great arcs throughout this whole fucking series.
The character development of this show is very good to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Bar none.
Especially with his character.
But yeah, so like that was my biggest worry. But I think for the most part, and like I guess that could be a criticism for some people, like maybe big fans of the comics and like maybe only the violent aspects of the comics, is that you don't get a lot of Moon Knight in this Moon Knight show.
It's true.
And that I could see how people have an issue with it. And particularly, which is funny, my favorite episode, and the one that I think is probably the best any episode of any Marvel show, is episode 5, the Asylum episode. And there is zero Moon Knight in that episode, and I think that episode is fucking amazing.
That was good. It reminded me a lot of Legion, which I think I've mentioned to you guys in passing before. It's another like loose Marvel series. It was on FX about this X-Men character Legion, who I think is Professor X's son in some universes. But it's very loose about the X-Men terminology and stuff. There's definitely like mutants and stuff, and it's very like early on in Legion's abilities. But there's a portion where he's like, Legion's like this all-powerful like godlike mutant who can just like tap into anybody's mind and like just completely change people's psychological perceptions. And he's kind of similar to Mark and Steven, and where he has like split personalities. So I saw a lot of parallels in this in both series, especially the Asylum scene. I think there's like a whole half of a season where they're like the Legion and the majority of the other cast are stuck inside of an asylum, which is really just a construction inside of Legion's mind. But anyway, it's a great show that I would recommend on the side. But yeah, I also really liked this episode as well. It was really cool.
I think it just further went into the aspect like this didn't get generic. Like that episode felt so different from everything I've seen in any of the Marvel stuff that I've seen so far. And I just thought that was just super cool. That it just felt like I was watching like a real like psychological, I don't know, TV show that wasn't based in this world. Like this is the same world that Avengers are in, and that's super weird.
Yeah,
I wrote that in my notes like 6 different times when we'll talk about the mummies, but I was like, this is the same universe where we have Captain America and Thor, and then on this other side of the world we got mummies and a dude in his own mindscape. Right. It's like it's insanity.
So, how many gods exist now? We've kind of confirmed that the Panther god exists for Black Panther. The Norwegian gods exist, Thor and Odin and all them. Now we got the Egyptian gods are just there, like they're all there.
Zeus is gonna be in God and Thunder or Love and Thunder.
So we're gonna have the Greek gods too. So Greek gods, every god you've ever believed in, it's real. All gods are real in the MCU.
I'm not sure if there's like the Christian god in any of the comics.
There should be. I think it'd be hilarious.
That would be really funny if you just see like Jesus or the Christian God just coming
I want
down
Jesus
and like
to be part of the Avengers
with some nunchucks.
It's the same thing I said with Assassin's Creed Jesus. Just do it. Just make them do it. Why do we get to make all these things about these other different pantheon of gods and everything? But Christianity is the ones that people are like, no.
Stan Lee comes out of his grave. It's Christian man.
I could also see Moses being like a character popping up.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not at this point?
Parting the waters,
he splits
and shit.
the ocean, the sea. He's a
That's
waterbender.
his only
power. Though there is a line that I was reminded in when looking at different like things online about this show, where Steve Rogers, and I think the first Avengers movie, when he meets Thor and he's talking to somebody off screen, I forget. And he's like, that's not a god. Like there's only one god.
There's only one god.
He doesn't dress like that.
He doesn't wear tight.
That could be in some way agreeing that there's literally every single version of all different gods confirmed in Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Boom.
That's also very much to that Captain America character as well.
Yeah, that's just him. But
I'm a homegrown Christian American man.
Yeah,
it's really cool that all these different beliefs can be real. And also in Asylum, one of the hippo god, I forget her name, confirms like the afterlife. The afterlife is just like whatever feels good to you or whatever you believe in. That's what it is. So it works for anybody, which is something that I can really relate to.
Yeah, I did love that because she mentions the ancestral plane from Black Panther. And she's like, "Oh, it's beautiful there." So it's like, it's like I guess whatever afterlife you believe in, that's where you'll go.
If only we could be that accepting of other people's religions and cultures in real life.
I know, right?
We solved all world religious conflict. It's all real. Like you can go to yours. It's all real.
But I guess let's talk about episode 5 then, since we're kind of around that area. This is where I was like, damn, Oscar Isaac's fucking good.
He killed it.
Fucking hell. Multiple scenes in this, but one in particular is when you finally get the full reveal of when Steven and Mark started to blend at the very end, and he's like in tears at his mother's funeral because you find out.
Gosh, that was so heartbreaking. That was rough. So hard.
Yeah, because you find out that his little brother died in the worst fucking way. When he's crawling as like Big Steven in his flashback memory trying to crawl through, I was like, this is awful. I hate everything about this.
So much.
They're like, oh, let's go play in the cave, and there's like storm clouds right above it. It's like starting to sprinkle. It's like, oh, it's okay. Like there's like water already running down the cave. It's like, let's go in there. It's like, why?
Children are stupid. They don't think things like that happen.
Right. And if Big Brother's going, little brother's gonna go. That's just how they work.
Oh man.
No, as soon as I saw how thin that cave was, I was like, there's no way my ass is going in there.
I mean, like Steven follows them in, and he goes around the corner, and it's like already up to his chest. It's like,
yeah.
That's pretty quick.
Yeah. It really escalated.
It's fucking heartbreaking.
What was that fucking... God, what was that horror movie where Homegirl's head gets popped off? That was that same...
Wow.
God, what is the movie? From the dude that made Midsummer. What was it? Hereditary. Hereditary.
Yeah.
It was that same kind of storyline that I thought that was kind of funny.
That scene. I don't remember that scene.
Most people probably did. I thought it was hilarious. Apparently, it was supposed to be shocking. I just thought it was so.
It was really bad. Yeah.
But it reminded me about that because it was like that whole like, oh, I'm blaming you for the death of your brother, your sister, things like that. Because I mean, that does happen in real life. Unfortunately, I mean, people handle trauma very differently, and that was one of those situations where it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna blame you because you were there. Not that I'm a bad mother and just let my kids play by themselves when they're fucking 8 and 3. Dumb idiot.
Right.
in the.
Well, I don't know. Like people should be able to play in your backyard. I don't know if that's the message.
Be allowed to go into caves and stuff like that without some supervision. That seems pretty irresponsible.
Maybe not a cave. Yeah, that's a little.
Maybe not a cave. This fills up.
That's a little spooky.
I think a lot of people are deal with things in their own way. Even the dad at some point, you're like, Dad, you gotta be a better dad and take care of your other.
Every
kid
time I fucking go downstairs, and Mom's like, "Fuck you, you piece of shit, idiot," with a decanter in her hand, drunk as shit. Like maybe you should be like, "Hey, don't say that to your child. Now your only child.
Stop hitting our kid."
Your mom's just not feeling well, Mark. It's like, Dad, she just yelled at me. Fuck you. It's all your fault. Like
she just burst down my door.
She's not feeling very well, Mark.
It's beating time. Like what the fuck?
Yeah,
that was really sad.
Yeah,
that scene in particular, where obviously you and Steven, the character, find out where he came from, and then you find out that Mark was the original. It's one of the most heartbreaking lines is when Steven wants to continue to watch, see what happens, and Mark's pulling him out of the room. He's like, "No, you can't see that. That's literally your purpose, is to not see that stuff. That's literally why you were made." And it's like, oh, fuck, dude.
I think that was one of the better showings of like creating a character like as a whole than I've seen in a lot of Marvel stuff. I guess maybe it's just I'm biased because I can kind of relate to those things. Because as a child, when you go through like pretty traumatic events, one of the first things you do is you escape. You escape into something. Like maybe you liked books a whole lot as a kid, or maybe you really got into video games, and maybe your imagination was running wild, stuff like that. And that was kind of what he was doing. He was like, "Yeah, I made up this character because this character shields me. He protects me from these things because he's brave and intelligent and the best." And I was like, "Yeah, that shit happens. Like that's a real thing." Like,
yeah. There's a nice touch in that scene in his childhood room. You still see the scales of balance, but like a toy version of it in the background of one of the shots. Like, yeah, so I thought that was cool. But yeah, and then obviously you see Mark standing outside his parents' house. He can't go into his mother's funeral afterwards, and that's when Steven comes out. This is where I was going to talk about the one little tidbit that I learned that in a lot of the scenes where there's two Oscar Isaacs in the same shot, it's his real life brother playing him.
Whoa,
so I was like, on one hand, I was like, that's also pretty amazing considering the context of the show.
Yeah.
But also like, that's a bit cheating, Oscar Isaac, when you're acting about your real brother about losing a brother. You're cheating.
You can make those emotions, baby.
But no. But it's like, so like that's pretty amazing.
It's his real life brother who's like roughly his age in those scenes, or
yeah, like when it's like the back of Oscar Isaac talking to like Steven or Mark talking to each other.
Cool.
Yeah, it's his real life brother in a lot of those things as his double. So he got to act with his real life brother.
That's really
crying about the death of his character's brother. So I was like,
wow,
that would probably help the acting process, I would imagine.
Yeah, I wonder what their relationship is like, or if his brother has never like been on set before. He's just like geeking out and like, wow, this is so fucking cool. And his Oscar is like,
right.
Listen, I need you to like just look at me and get like help me get into character. Like, stop eating donuts right now. Just relax.
The whole time he's just cheesing away, trying to like give out these like heart wrench lines, and he's just over here like, "I'm hanging out with my best brother."
Yeah, it's all the more heartbreaking when it all starts to click, and you realize that's why Steven's been calling his mom, and she's not answering every fucking time, and it's just like,
girl, fucking
dead,
fuck, bro.
This is tragic, dude.
That's a rough
and he got like real mad about it when people try to mention she's dead, and like that's kind of maybe what brought him to a breaking point again.
Yeah, speaking of which, when were you about to mention the Dr. Harrow?
Yeah. So go ahead.
I just thought that like as good of a villain as he was like a terrible person, also a really great character and a great villain. I think he was a really good like psychological doctor. Like, I mean, I'm not a professional, but it seemed like the state steps he was going through, like, it seemed pretty like effective. Like the way he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, like I was confused. You know, let's give her a call. Like, let me help you make this decision on your own. Like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to force you to believe me. I'll let you like figure it out for yourself."
I think he was a little savage in some moments, though. Like, I feel like there were a few moments where he's like, "Is that sense or nonsense, Mark?"
Okay, yeah, that was a little
condescending.
I don't think that's necessarily how they clinically.
I guess I just liked how he handled the mom situation. Maybe
that scene was very good.
Yeah, no, that's a very big psychiatrist and like therapist tactic, because you're not supposed to tell people the problem. You're supposed to help them find the solution themselves. So obviously they were researching their homework when it came to that kind of stuff, and I thought it was super cool. He was very calm when Homeboy was freaking out, and I thought that was like, This dude's about to beat your ass, bro. And you're just like, oh man, be nice with him. Don't sedate him too much. Like it'll be fine. It's like this dude is about to uppercut you.
I mean, it had me believing. I was like, at that point, I was like, I don't know what is happening, what to believe, who's real, what's going on. Because that whole time, I thought maybe Harrow had him in like a weird, like in a coma or some shit, and obviously that's not what it is. But I was like, I don't know what to believe right now.
If this wasn't like a Marvel superhero show, I think that'd be a really good like. Twist. Not like say like a bio, just like a twist of like, this person in their mind thinks they're a superhero and thinks all these things are happening to them. It turns out this whole time they've just been in the ward, and like that's how the fucking movie ends. They've just been in the ward the whole time, and they just
like
they're fucked up. Like basically like Shutter Island, like a situation like that. I think that's super. Sucker Punch was like that, but they did it terribly.
Oh wow, true.
But you knew that it was Marvel because it's like because it's Marvel, the other stuff was real. But you're like, damn, like what if like Layla was just another girl from like the psych ward, and like he created all these characters in his mind, like. Whew.
Well, yeah, because you see in the asylum, they're all people from his outside world. Right. Yeah, down to his really asshole boss. Whose name I can't remember.
That boss was
everyone's
the worst.
Man, she was.
I would have quit, dude.
She was too
was
much.
So
that
mean.
was like unbelievable how much of a dick
like,
she was.
Shut up and do the inventory. Why is he the only person doing inventory in the whole museum? Like, I've only worked retail one time, but that's a team effort. Like, you can't just punish one person and do. You're on inventory duty, like only you.
Also, that girl that he has a date with in that first episode, I'm like, clearly, obviously, it's not Steven. And at one point, I thought, is Mark cheating on his wife?
Oh, yeah, that was probably Jake too. Like, that was probably Jake
too.
No,
that was definitely Jake.
That's probably Jake. And in one sense, still, does this girl think that Jake is putting on a weird accent right now? Why is she's not saying anything about it? She's like, okay, yeah, everything's great. I'll see you. I'll see you Saturday.
Jake speaks Spanish. Like,
like, oh, you're so funny.
How did you even know that he was asking you out on a date?
Yeah, I was like, all right, that's weird.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, that was an interesting take. Still didn't get to that steak. Well, I guess he got the steak. Well done. Fucking gross ass.
I was so disappointed when he said that.
He said, how would you like the steak? He's like, yeah, very, very good. Yeah, it was like a good steak. I would like it good. Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of like that, like, I don't know. I just feel like Mark's whole treatment. I feel like Mark was shitty as hell to Layla. Like,
yes,
like basically turns off his phone for months. She doesn't know where he is. She's calling.
Y'all are married.
She's calling like 5 times every like hour, and he just turns the phone off because
I'm surprised she didn't give up and stop calling like months. Like as soon as he turns that phone on, she calls immediately. I was like, she's just calling nonstop for months on end. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he like. Didn't tell her about, like, he knew how her dad died the whole time. Did not tell her, like, never, like, just fessed up to telling her. To me, Mark was, like, trying to be protective of her by just being, like, in too many ways of, like, oh, she can't handle this, where she definitely proved herself as a very capable and, like,
very true.
Like, good character that could absolutely handle stuff. But it's, like, I don't know. I really, there were, that element of Mark's character I really did not like, of just, he seemed a little...
It makes sense when when he's just not so much trying to keep her safe from the shit that's happening, but he doesn't want Khonshu to get his hands on.
But then she shuts Khonshu down because you have to consent. It seems like you have to consent to be an avatar. Like you have to be like, yes, I will, be the avatar for you. So, and she was just like, no, like, and Khonshu's like, ooh, you want to be my vengeance? She's like, no, like, I
don't know that.
we have seen how manipulative he can be. Like he can't force you to say yes, but he can manipulate you into thinking you have no other choice.
He's a big piece of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true.
As most gods tend to be in this universe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, real quick, I before we get off of episode 5, the final part of the episode that I think is just so good is that Marvel did the thing where they give you a beloved character death, but you still get to keep your hero, in the sense that I love when Steven realizes that because he finds out that he's obviously not the original and Mark is, that Mark's about to get taken off the boat, which the whole fact that this is in the Marvel Universe and there's a big hippo driving a boat in the sand is amazing.
That was something. As soon as I saw that character pop up, I was like, I don't know what the fuck this show is about to end up being.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and then Steven gets that, he realizes, wait, if you can do this, that means I can do this. And he starts to kick ass, and then he tumbles off the boat, and we get Steven's death. I was like, how did y'all nail it, getting us like this amazing episode with all these crazy dramatic beats and a beloved character's death, and you still have Mark around, so it's not like you've lost everything, type of thing. I was like, damn, y'all fucking nailed it with this episode.
Yeah.
And that's why I love that one so much. I will say, at least for me, I don't know how it felt with you guys. I feel the show is a disservice if you binge the 5th and 6th episode because Steven's back in about 5 minutes. So it kind of takes that away. I would imagine so.
But the way I've seen a lot of these, or at least I've watched most of these as a binge as opposed to watching them week to week, which makes them feel more akin to like a movie when it comes down to it.
Mm-hmm.
That felt like a pretty like standard movie beat of like seeing someone go down and be like, oh no, they're fucked. And then like, 10, 15 minutes pass and then like they come back riding a dragon or some shit. And you're like, yeah, you know what I mean? Because usually like within 2 to 3 hours a normal movie is. So you have to, fast track that. So that didn't feel as bad to me as I figured it would have because I knew he was going to come back. Like he couldn't have been gone like that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I honestly thought he was going to stay dead, which I was really bummed about. I was like, well,
I thought so too.
In order for Mark to grow, he needs to learn to like live with things on his own. So I guess
especially when the scales balance once Steven dies, I was like, okay, so clearly this is how Mark should go.
So I want to talk a little bit about that scale balancing thing when it comes to his dissociative identity disorder and having 3 different people. And how learning more about those memories made them balance more.
I think I have the answer. Before you finish your question, I'm ready.
What kind of pissed me off was like as they were learning more memories, it got closer to balance. And the one thing she was like, "Oh, well, the heart's not completely full." Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, "Yeah, because there's a third motherfucker that we don't know single memory about.
Yeah.
How the fuck can you balance
That's
anything? You don't even know this dude exists." What the fuck?
I thought they would have to like put a third heart and then it would balance.
Right, because that's another thing part of that episode was when they opened the sarcophagus of himself and it's like, oh, boom, we got 2 people. And then you look around the corner, there's another sarcophagus. And I'm like, wait a second.
We'll just leave that one closed.
Who the fuck's in that one?
And it is freaking out.
Right,
and they didn't open it.
I think that was just a flaw in the particular language they use. I think they shouldn't have said that it was like the hearts are unfull. They're not filled or whatever she said. Because I think the bigger point was like they got balanced by the end because Mark was hiding a lot of things and he wasn't being truthful to himself and to the other half of him. Even though we know there's a third person in there,
he's hiding even more shit.
Yeah, but neither of them know about this third person. So to their point, once they come clean with all their grievances and their own heart, they don't feel like they're hiding anything else. They have no idea about this other person, so they're completely being truthful to themselves at that point. So I feel like their conscience is clean.
I guess we can also say like these gods are not omnipotent. they're pretty bad at their jobs. So it seems so it's like probably the gods don't even like, and those scales don't know that there's a third person or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. I feel like it's just about your conscience though, and like your moral moral soul.
That's fair.
So if you don't know about something that you did when you were blacked out. I mean, that's not to say we should excuse people who are like blackout drunk or something, but this is a totally different example.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But I guess for me, I guess it's me thinking about the clinical definition of like dissociative identity disorder and kind of how I don't want to say they did decently with it. They did better than some other TV shows I've seen that have kind of tried to play around with this. But I do think, and like part of like the blacking out and stuff like that. So it's like, honestly, neither of these characters should know anything about each other. And the fact that they're interacting with each other is a weird thing that doesn't happen with this disorder. But whatever, that's fine. But it's kind of like to play around with dissociative identity disorder and then just kind of make it like, no, you're just 2 bros hanging out. Was kind of like, I liked it. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was a cool character-wise. But it's like, that's not really what that is.
But they also pointed that out, like, after the mom died, I think Mark was like, because they've been living with this completely separate lives for years since he was a kid until his like early young adult life when he leaves the house or whatever. And he's like, Mark says this was the point when our lives started bleeding together.
Right.
And then of course we get into the series when they're like seeing each other in the reflection and Steven's like, well, what the hell's going on right now?
Yeah, it's artistic stuff. So I can let it slide. Like they were literally talking to each other in a mirror. Sometimes in front of people, which was really awkward.
I love all the reflections throughout this show.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Was pretty great. Particularly also like that first opening when he first turns into Moon Knight in the bathroom and he's surrounded by all the mirrors and it's constantly he's in the reflections. I thought all of that was really well done.
They showed Jake a couple times in those mirrors.
Oh, really? Oh,
wow. There's a couple of times where it's like there was multiple reflections, and like when he left, one reflection would leave, but there was still one there, and it was like, oh,
who's that
interesting?
Wow, that's cool as shit.
In that episode, I do love that you get the moment where in the flashback where he becomes Moon Knight, you get Khonshu saying, "You will be my Moon Knight." I was like, he said the thing. He said the thing. But you also get a reference to the character of Bushman, which is like Moon Knight's biggest antagonist that wasn't in the show. He's the one who killed everyone. You find out his I think his senior officer, I think something like that. Who betrays them all.
Interesting.
So he's in the world, and we'll probably see him at some point if the show continues, which we'll talk about at the end. But it seems like it will. But who knows?
Does Bush? What's his name? Bush Knight? Bushwick?
Bush Knight.
Bushman.
Does Mr. Bush become like an avatar for anybody, or is he just like a normal dude?
I feel like he's somehow supered, but I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's an avatar for someone. I
feel like he could just be taken out. Like if he's just a general in the military or like a mercenary.
You just take him out with a gun, like we do normal people.
Right.
Yeah, Steven can handle that job.
I mean, we see in the episode, what is it? I think episode 3 that Moon Knight's bulletproof, which was interesting. I was like, oh, he's totally fine.
Get impaled.
Yeah, right.
In that horse episode, he got impaled like 40 times, and he's just sitting there with like sticks sticking out of him in every which way, and he's like, and he just shrugs them all off, just like
they've basically just decided that his suit is the same as Wolverine's strength, and that's just okay and allowed. And I'm
he's
like,
okay,
that's
he can recover from anything.
Yeah, I that fight was okay. I wasn't super crazy about it. But yeah, it was fine. Yeah. Which I guess say rest in peace to that actor, the guy who rides the horse, who they go to see. At the end of the credits, it says in memory of him. He died tragically in a skiing accident earlier this year, a couple months ago. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or not.
Man.
Wow. It was a story, but so this was like one of the last things, or if not the last thing he'll be in.
What's doubly sad about this was like, of course, this being the budding of his career, and then also he was supposed to be one of the main villains that would be carried on throughout the show. Midnight Man is a big antagonist for Moon Knight, and this was supposed to be like his introduction.
This is the horse guy, like the main, the friend.
Yeah,
I thought he died at the end. Like I thought he
when they threw the thing at him.
he kind of like rides off into the mist or something, you know?
Yeah, so very tragic. Didn't mean to bring that down, but that was a thing that
I'm curious to see what will happen in season 2, if they will still try to use that character, because it felt like they were going to allude to that being the season 2 antagonist, but now I don't know if they're just going to go a different route instead.
Yeah, I don't know.
And that made me want to look at like, because they had a word for those horse guys that were like doing that like that pole stuff, and I'm curious if they are like if that's like an Egyptian tradition from like the Mamluks or something, which were like these elite soldiers.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I have no idea.
Yeah, but they were. I think there's like a pretty strong horse tradition of the Mamluks, and they were like one of the few people that pushed back the Mongols in like the Middle Ages. So I'm curious if there's any connection there. But it made me curious to look that up.
I'm glad that you're our history guy.
I know. I'm glad we have one.
Sound of shit.
I remember when they're in the tomb episode, when they pulled out the map, or they pulled something, or the statue out of Alexander the Great's throat.
Oh my god! I was like, how could you?
Oh yeah,
how could you do that? But like, honest, Alexander the Great wasn't a great person, but still, it's like, but like, if you found Alexander's tomb, that would be.
It's interesting that he was, Amit's avatar.
Yeah, that would be such a huge deal. Like, and maybe that's why he was Amit's avatar. Did they kind of allude to that because he killed a lot of people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's what they were saying. Yeah.
He was. Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Did they explicitly say it, or did they just allude to it? I don't know. I missed it.
Yeah, I don't think they say it
because they're looking for. They're saying this tomb is where Amit's avatar is rested. Is the tomb where her statue will be in. And since it's Alexander the Great, they're like, holy shit, Alexander the Great. He was her first avatar.
Gotcha. Okay, so they said it, yeah. Yeah, the whole time I'm sitting there like, can we get an archological team here to like discover everything else that's in the tomb? Like, I'm like, Jesus, like we've been looking for that for such a long time.
It's funnier to watch Steven just rip this shit apart.
Right. Devin's trying to preserve history here.
Yeah.
I love that Steven was such a history nerd and like Egyptian mythology geek. It was really cool every time he was like excited about something, I was like, ooh, let me like pay attention to what he's talking about.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
He actually going to tell me something that I need to know.
Yeah, them having conversations of like, because clearly like Mark's like reluctant to let Steven take over the body at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And even Layla's like, we need Steven. He's the brains. Get his ass out here and help him solve this.
He figured that shit out in 2 seconds.
And like the kind of romantic connection between, so like Mark, like with the backdrop of Mark being horrible, like the kind of romance between Steven and Layla is like, I mean, it's the same body. So
the
I
question is, Devin, is it a threesome?
Is it?
If she has sex with
Is
Steven?
it cheating? I don't know, but that was weird. And she seemed into it. She was into it.
Oh yeah, Steven was very charming
as well,
even though he had a stupid accent.
They had everything in common. He loved the history that she loved.
And Mark was a shitty husband. Not
Right.
you can make all excuses you want, but he was a shitty husband. And like Steven's definitely a way better guy for Layla for sure.
Imagine your worst ex has just was a shitty person and cheated on you, fucking sucked. They came back with a completely different personality and a British accent.
Yeah.
Would you date them again? I don't know, maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
And she picks him up in London like it's nothing. Why are you being
It's gotta
so
be
silly?
weird. Like, even after this show, if she gets back with Mark, it's gotta be weird knowing that there's 2 other people in there.
No, at least 2 other people going on.
Another TV show, funny correction, she's also in Hereditary, United States of Terror. They play around with that a little bit because she also has dissociative identity disorder. And sometimes some of her personalities, they cheat. They think that they're not married to.
Oh,
they think they're not married to a man. Like one of them is literally, one of the personalities is a man or thinks he's a man.
Wow.
And goes and, fucks women. And he's like, you cheated on me, but I can't be mad at you because it wasn't you. And it's like that kind of situation.
Wow.
And I mean, honestly, Mark
Holy
almost
shit.
did that with Jake. He asked homegirl out on a date. He's about to be a whole ass cheater.
I'm pretty sure Jake's probably fucked at some point already. I think it's already been
fucks.
done.
We know Jake fucks.
Yeah.
That dude's a badass. He fucks.
That's a smooth motherfucker.
Yeah, homegirl submitting to go get some steak.
I hope he only speaks in Spanish if they when they bring him
Dude,
back in. I hope he only speaks Spanish.
I was going to mention that when we talk about Jake at the end, but we can briefly talk about it here. I've heard a lot of people complaining because that is very much not his comic book character.
Right.
Jake Lockley in the comic book is literally just the cabbie.
Yes.
He's a dude from the Bronx who just knows the underground of New York and drives Mark around.
If anything, he should sound more like Mark than Mark does.
Exactly. But I love the idea if he just speaks in Spanish the whole time. I love that idea. That is fucking amazing. And
that's a big thing about dissociative identity disorder as well. Is there's some people that they're like, I can speak fluent Russian as this person. I don't know Russian.
Right.
That person does. And it's I feel like it's going to be a situation with them too. Where it's I can't understand this person. I don't know Spanish.
Yeah.
Jake knows Spanish.
Right.
It's fuck. That's just cool. It's just a cool thing to explore.
That and I love that they got into Oscar Isaac as a person, his heritage as a person. Because Moon Knight is not Latino as far as I'm concerned.
He's just a Jewish boy.
I don't believe he's just Jewish. Yeah. Which they also address he is Jewish in the show as well, which is cool. But I love that they got Oscar Isaac. They're like, yeah, he's a Latino man. Let's lean into that as well. Yeah, so I thought that was cool. Looking forward to seeing if they continue and what they're doing with that.
Yeah, that was another thing. Talking about those characters and the different ones. Stephen Grant's supposed to be his millionaire identity. He's not supposed to be just a stupid asshole that has a shitty life. So they definitely changed that around pretty hard. Because I was like, that man's not rich. He lives in a studio apartment with a goldfish.
Although that apartment is massive, though. He's just a messy. He's got a messy apartment.
He has a pretty good apartment.
Somehow every broke person in Hollywood
in
a studio home is got a beautiful place still.
Do people that
no roommates?
They all live in a
people
loft.
that make movies don't know how much rent costs? How the fuck is the dude from the TV show You? That man was a bookkeeper or some shit. That dude makes $12 an hour, I'm sure. How do you afford a 1-bedroom apartment in Upper Manhattan on that kind of fucking... His apartment was amazing.
Yeah.
With enough supplies to build a torture chamber and all that.
Right.
I wanted to go back earlier in this season. They have a trial with the gods. That is the dumbest trial I've ever seen.
Oh my god!
Because Khonshu's like, let me do the talking. And he just flips it. He just starts yelling at everyone. He's like, kill this man. I'm the one in charge. It's like, Khonshu, what are you? This is the worst
really
plan ever.
Well.
He did such a bad job.
Let me handle it. Fuck you. Fuck you. All right, man. I think you blew it. You might have blown this one.
But also the other gods were really. I mean, granted, homie was yelling at him every time he got a chance, but they did a really poor job of being open to what it was happening. Yeah,
right.
Objective. They were just no, Khonshu, you're an asshole still. This human's totally telling the truth.
But it's also I guess this also goes into the point that the gods are not omnipotent, where it's we've seen Harrow murder people up till this point.
Yeah.
Did the gods just not know about any of that?
I just love their investigative technique was just Harrow, are you are you trying to raise Amit? And he's like, no.
His fingers are crossed behind his back.
Okay, we believe you.
Never do that.
And then later, when they're at the very end, they're like, they get back together, like something's happening.
Yeah.
I think somebody's raising Amit. Who could it be?
He's like, oh, okay, well, I trust him. I think he's good on his word. Well, and then 20 minutes later, somebody's releasing Amit. It's like, you idiots. Like, those guys are like, it was funny how, like, who would win? Like, 7 Egyptian gods or one boy with a purple staff? And it's like, they cut back to that scene and they're all just dead. It's like, y'all the clowns, dude. Like,
how did he beat them? I wish we could have seen that fight.
I think they left it vague because he should not have. Like, but that's the
it
thing.
would have been a stupid fight.
As soon as he started fighting them, it's like, it would have been hilarious though if they had just gotten mowed down by like the AK-47s.
It wasn't
like,
even
his,
the
like,
staff.
followers.
Oh
like, they just kill the gods with like conventional weapons. It's like, well, that was very disappointing.
That is the thing also where I had the question at the end of this because we see that Layla becomes what in the comics, at least, it seems to be she's the Scarlet Scarab, at least a version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But she becomes the Avatar Prime for a little while for Tawadet, and which I will say her suit is badass. Her wings and sword,
cool.
she looks dope as shit.
Yeah.
But I was like, why don't any of these other gods have dope superhero avatars? Why is it just Khonshu and then Tawadet?
Like Isis was like Greg from accounting. Like it's just like a balding middle-aged man that spends most of his time in a cubicle. It's like, first of all, if you're a god, like, oh, we just watch the affairs of humans now. We don't intervene anymore. It's like, so you want to sit and be in a cubicle all day, 24/7? Like, you're a god. At least go do something cool. Like,
right.
Like, at least be like a sailing instructor. Don't be like a guy wearing a suit. Like, come on, bro. We just stand watch. We don't intervene anymore. Like classic.
I think they chose that guy to be in the suit because he was like the leader of the gods in like that mythology. So he's like would be somewhat of an important person in the human culture. Yeah, I guess he's a businessman.
Yeah.
They didn't do Ra. I think Isis was the kind of the highest one, right? And then there was like they didn't really get too deep into that.
There wasn't Ra, but there was somebody else who is sometimes known as Ra. They all have like a couple of different names. I think it was the woman who was talking about how Khonshu and this other god used to like get along and stuff. I think that was Ra, the sun god.
Oh, I didn't.
She was like wearing a dress and she was like flirting with the
one that helped.
The one that helped. Oh. The only one that helped.
I don't remember.
She was like the god of music or something. But
yeah.
I thought in that scene where Layla got Khonshu, and like, so first of all, you're down bad. They just killed all the gods. You know that releasing like the statue will bring the gods out, and she's like sitting there. There's like probably 20 of Amit's followers. They're all looking for you. You know he has a super powerful staff. She goes in this room where there's like 30 statues. All you got to do is take them down and break them, and these gods are out. Yeah. And she's just like, no, I got Khonshu. Okay, we're good. Like,
I just break all that. He just went to town.
Just a montage of her
get
just
all
smashing
these gods out here. Let's have a freaking fiesta. Come on, like.
She did take a long time to do that too.
Right.
I wonder who. I kind of wanted to know who's all up in there. How many more gods are in there? I want to know who they are.
Who coming to the party?
Yeah.
They probably got Jesus in there.
You smash one, it's just Jesus.
you just see a statue with somebody on a cross. Is like, should we break this one? I don't know.
It's just another dude from accounting as his avatar.
That's why he hasn't come back yet.
No one broke the statue. Yeah. Dang it. No, I wanted to bring up a good point about because I did a lot of reading into Moon Knight's character in the comic, as I do whenever I watch these shows, just to see how it compares and contrasts. Because I just think it's kind of interesting to see how they reinterpret this kind of stuff. And I found an interesting fact about Scarlet Scarab. God, can we get rid of the word Scarlet whenever we talk about red in this damn universe? It's really starting to piss me off. Stan Lee has no.
But see, you probably couldn't use red when they made comics back in the day because that would be communism.
Fair.
Yeah.
You are probably very correct with that, actually.
It has to be scarlet. Can't be
the red scarab? Oh, no.
Yeah, that sounds pretty fucking Nazi.
That's very funny.
But it's a cool homage to that character. I can't pronounce the names of the her like dad and stuff like that, but in the actual comics, Red Scarab is named similar to the name of her father. He's not a very big character in the comics. He's only shown up like a few times and died in the end. But it was kind of cool that they switched around the names of those characters to kind of give an homage to that. Because the actual person that died their name was like Arlene or something. Their last name, like Peter Arlene, was the dude that died. So I guess they just wanted to be like, hey, we remember this character existed. Enjoy.
Right.
Yeah, because a love interest was still the daughter of that man that died by Bushman.
Yeah, because Layla's it's kind of an amalgamation / made up for this show. As far as her name goes. Yeah, which we didn't mention. It's corny, but I love those moments where you get the line with the little girl.
Oh yeah,
are you an Egyptian superhero? She's like, I am, and then she just. It's definitely on the nose, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Who's that?
I think that's kind of stuff is really cool and also important, like for different cultures.
Yeah, kind of drive
Absolutely.
it home.
Hopefully, I mean, I don't know. I'm not Egyptian, but I wonder if people in that demographic would appreciate stuff like that. I know I would if seeing Black Panther was like fucking epic. For me.
Also, like, speaking of Layla, first of all, I loved Layla's like character and her acting, especially that scene where she's going across that, like,
I love her hair,
going across the chasm with that creepy ass mummy hand. Oh god, that was so creepy.
There's mummies. Cool. There's fucking mummies in this universe.
Yeah, the mummies were there,
and they're doing surgery.
What the fuck?
Grey's Anatomy in that tomb, cutting people open and stuff. Like, what were they up to?
Oh my god, that was terrifying. Yeah, that was real scary. That was like some out of Brendan Fraser's the Mummy. That was like
that was like legit horror. Yeah,
but two things, like, first of all, that table where, like, I just love when they do this in movies where, like, you know, that mummy brings a guy up, puts him on the table, starts cutting him open, and she's sitting right there on the other side of the table. It's like classic. You could just look to your left and you're gonna see her curly ass hair. Like,
he literally dropped something down
she's
there.
She's like sneaking around the table, and it's like, it's like, oh, there was something just here. It's like, if you just stand straight up, you're gonna see her legs like sticking out the other side.
Right.
But I just love when they do that, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm hiding. It's like you are not hiding at all.
Devin, you didn't know this, but mummies have terrible peripheral vision.
It's true. Their eyes are very old.
But yeah, no. At the beginning of the Tomb episode, I loved that. I thought it was so funny, like where Khonshu leaves and like they like Mark / Steven is unconscious, like rolls down the hill. And there's her one parked car in the middle of the desert, and they come in with like a truck with a minigun on the back, and they're looking around for her, like, where could she possibly be? Like, well, there's only these footprints that we could follow, and then they like go up to the car. They're like, where'd she go? Where'd she go? And she's like hiding in the car, like the one thing that she could hide behind.
That was,
and then
she
dumb. Like gets out and then kills them with a flare. Like, first of all, Layla and flares. That's all the superpower. She doesn't need all the Scarlet Scarabs. Like, she just needs flares, dude. She was using flares nonstop to kill everybody. Like, that was hilarious. But I just love that scene where they're like, "Where'd she go?" Like, it's just one part car in the middle of the desert. Like,
yeah, that was pretty silly. If that were a video game, they just would have blown up the car.
Right.
Just shoot the car up. And
just like. They had a 50 cal machine gun and they didn't just light that car up. Like,
right. Yeah. I just would have done it out of principle.
Yeah. to see something blow up. I don't know.
I wanted to mention, we were talking about the mummies. I love the moment where she rips the mummy's hand off and then the mummy continues to try to stab her with its bone. I was like, that is gruesome.
That was pretty
That
intense.
was a nice touch.
Man. Yeah, that whole scene was so well done, I thought. Like, the creepiness of like, oh my God. And I thought she was going to like be taken away into the dark and show up later, but then she like fought her way, like when she got grabbed into that and goes into that darkness, when she's able to fight her way out. But like, man, when she's like going looking for handholds and stuff, and then one hand just like comes out and like, ooh, those things were like up there with like some of the scary stuff that the MCU has done. I think
show was scary. There's a lot of scary stuff in
this show is not real kid friendly.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I know they say curse words a lot. They're getting more liberal every time they make a new show.
Which, if you're going to, I feel like Moon Knight's definitely a character that this is where it should have gone as hard as Marvel's can go on a Disney fucking platform, you know?
Yeah.
Because I definitely think like they could go harder with the violence, even from what we've seen, based off like comic book stuff. But like for the most part, it's not terrible. And I do wonder if they're gonna push it. I don't think they'll ever get to like a Netflix Daredevil level of violence and blood and type of stuff. But it would be interesting.
I mean, this was pretty up there. Like that mummy, like killed that guy and then like took out one of his organs and like threw it in the
that was gory
bucket or something. It's like, oh God, like hide your kids.
Yeah.
And also, did they establish like? I don't think they established like because you heard gunfire when they went in the tomb and they didn't run into any of the henchmen the whole time, and they're getting picked off by the mummies. And like Harrow seemed completely unconcerned by the mummies. So were the other henchmen fighting the mummies, or I don't really know.
I think so. I don't, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but it seems that way, yeah.
Like they didn't really explain them as like followers of Amit or something. They were just like literally just zombies that were just alive. Like,
which I'm slightly disappointed we didn't get like any kind of Blade cameo in this. As soon as the mummies popped up, I was like, "We're the vampires next. Let's go."
That would have been cool.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah,
I guess that's too much like A-list star power for one TV show.
That, and I think the showrunners of the show said that this was going to be like the least connected to the Marvel universe. There wasn't going to be a big Easter egg type of thing, and for the most part, there wasn't. There was some, and we'll talk about it at the end. There are some things that they've come out of afterwards of the show of what they wanted to put in the show. But yeah,
it was nice how it was like its own contained thing, though. I kind of like that they didn't introduce anybody else.
I'm kind of tired of post cutscene credits of Zippity Doop coming in and everyone cheering because now they have it. Yeah, that's getting old.
Yeah, that's fair. I did like Khonshu changing the sky, which just makes me question what happened to what did he do? Because like. Did he just fuck the universe up? Because like moving stars, I feel like does something to space.
Yeah, that seems like not a good thing to do.
Did he? Yeah. Like what? And the whole world saw this? Like what?
Guardians of the Galaxy are just in their ship, like what? Like,
I didn't even think about that.
Like what is going on?
That's true. Is he moving Earth or is he moving everything else?
Every giant.
It looked like he was moving.
He was just moving
everything like the sky.
I mean, that's what it looks like, but it also looks like the sky is moving when we're on the ground.
But like they weren't time traveling, so I don't think he was moving the Earth.
No.
So it's because it was like it's not like the day or anything changed.
I think it was just literally the vision. Like he was moving the vision back to that night. And so, even though everybody on the world, I mean, for what has it got to be like to live in this world with the Marvel characters?
I'm telling you, bro.
Eternals face.
It's back to this again.
A few weeks ago, we had the Eternals face, the cosmic face show up in the sky. New York is under assault from aliens literally every day. Like, you
just can't leave your house. Like, you just got to stay home.
Oh, yeah, like Doctor Strange fighting an octopus monster on your wedding day is like, oh, so great. This is happening on our wedding day. We'll have some cool videos. Like, okay, you got the sky going back in time by like 20,000 years. Like, I mean, just every day is just a new thing in this world.
At least this wasn't just directly in New York. I think just being a New York citizen in that universe is the worst thing on earth. Like, well, I don't know why anybody.
I don't think anyone has good insurance in New York.
There's no way. I know that shit's probably expensive as hell, bro. I got to get Captain America and Doctor Strange insurance. I can't afford that, bro. You know the premiums on that shit.
They sell the Avengers Platinum line of insurance.
Imagine going to CarMax, buying a new car, and then Hulk just throws that shit next week. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, you're not covered by a superhero.
Right? Is that act of God? Do I get my money?
We only covered Thor damage. You didn't buy the extended Hulk package.
Like, damn, bro.
Like when Harrow's followers are going around Cairo starting to kill people, they're like, all the Egyptians are like, it's finally happening to us. Like we get a moment. Like there's a giant crocodile fighting a giant bird skull thing.
Listen,
like,
which
cool.
Let's talk about the big kaiju fight. I really dug it.
Did you? I was fine with it.
Like, was that artistic? Is that like only the avatars could see that, or like is everybody in Cairo seeing this giant fight?
That's a great question. No one ever saw whatchamacallit.
No one ever saw kaiju before, but there was a point where when they're resurrecting kaiju, and Mark and what's the lady's name?
Layla,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's a moment where after Kaiju is back and Mark is back and Mark is Moon Knight again, Kaiju appears behind them.
Wait, I gotta correct because you keep calling her Kaiju.
Because we just talked about
what's his name?
Kanju.
Okay, my bad.
Khonshu.
Yeah. It's a weird because it's spelled Kohn, and that's kind of weird looking. So I kept like
words are hard to say and spell for me. But anyway, there's a point where he appears behind both of them, and both of them turn to look. So it's like all of a sudden, Layla can see him now for some reason. Maybe because she was talking to him earlier.
I like to imagine everyone saw a big crocodile lady fight a big bird man.
Sounds fun to me.
Who had weird super speed? Once again, has no idea what his actual powers are. He's just got nondescript powers, and she's just big.
I like that she turned into Shang Tsung from Mortal Kombat and was sucking the souls out of everyone in Cairo.
Nom.
She's literally just eating them. I was like, those people are lunch now. They're not even like going to hell. She's literally just eating them.
And it seemed like that's what made her get bigger. So why is Khonshu just getting big for no reason?
I think she said that she was like and that kind of gets into the motivations of her, right? Which I did want to briefly mention, but like, my girlfriend was looking up stuff about the Egyptian gods as we were watching, and she's like, Amit is known as like the devourer of souls. Like she is not like a, just for like predetermined justice kind of thing. It's like, so it seemed like Amit was like, no, I need to kill
just made up a fake
because they're evil. It's like, you actually just need to eat. Like
I'm actually just hungry.
It turns out everyone's evil. Oh no, guess I gotta eat them.
And then like it was funny when Harrow like at the beginning went, because like, okay, so going through the logic, like Amit is like, oh well, if somebody's going to do a bad act in their life, I can already tell and therefore it's better to eliminate them before, they do it.
Isn't this the storyline of
Minority Report?
Yeah.
I think Khonshu's method of justice is probably more fair, right? Because you got to wait for them to do it first. But then Harrow uses the Hitler argument. He just throws in like, hey, wouldn't the world be better without Hitler? It's like, yes. Like,
Look, Mark does have that line where he's like, yeah, I kind of draw the line at child murder, though. So,
yeah, like at what point is that actually okay, though? Like, if Minority Report were real, or Amit were real, or hypothetically, what do you guys think is on the table? Is that just not okay?
Oh no, this is a big question.
It's something that I couldn't help think about. Like obviously, if no harm could be done to anybody, like that sounds nice. But also, like, if someone's going to do something bad when they're 40, do we get rid of them when they're 10? Like,
right. It's the same argument in the Captain America, the Winter Soldier, when they have those giant ships that are just gonna target specific locations of people because they are put in an algorithm that said that they might do something bad at some point. So it's like,
yeah, Mark Zuckerberg looked at people that didn't have Facebook accounts. It's like, oh, we got to kill all of them.
I mean, the whole thing with Minority Report was about how you could actually change the future, and that was like the big thing, where it's like it actually doesn't have to happen, and you can actually change that.
Right.
If we got to some kind of understanding where we knew that, like, no matter what, you couldn't actually change what happens in the future, and these people are 100% going to kill. That's one thing, but I guess we don't have that understanding, so I don't know. I'd say no.
That gets down to the whole point of like Minority Report, and I think partially what this show touches on is like you can't know until the moment that somebody commits a crime or like kills somebody. You cannot know that they're actually going to go through with it until the moment they do it.
Because what's that butterfly effect? Anything can change. Like if we want to go into the concept of time and space and how that's
true.
I got too existential.
Like you could be right. Like you could be raising the knife to kill someone in anger, but then you could also at that last second maybe have some kind of epiphany or something, or maybe miss or something like that.
Or maybe because I sneezed in 2017, now that means 12 people died because never mind.
So I think it'd be cool if we could invent some kind of technology, or magical spirit could
invent a magical spirit.
Maybe not invent, just it just happened. Like,
we bring the statue of
some
Jesus.
kind of technology or some kind of magical spirit. These are two different hypothetical situations.
Gotcha.
Right.
Where yes, we wait until like the last possible second to like evaporate whatever person is going to do something bad. Or what they go to jail.
Atomize these.
They go to jail. They get vaporized. I don't know. Whatever is just for the crime that they're committing or whatever. So they're about to stab somebody. But of course, like Devin says, like they might take it back or whatever. They'd be like, oh, I can't physically do this, so I'm not going to kill you. So what if we wait until like the knife hypothetically goes like one flesh layer of skin deep, and then they're like, okay, you're an evil person,
and then I eat their soul
off the planet. Your soul is devoured.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool. I'd be down for that.
But that they still like traumatize a person. So like I don't know.
But I watched. I was watching some really dark TikToks this morning. This is slightly somehow on connection with this, on whether or not these people deserve
eating your breakfast and watching some.
I don't know if you've seen this TikTok trend where it's like they use this like upbeat music, and they tell a story about like a really just jarring thing that happened to their life, and then like the story goes left field at like the beat drop. And one was like, just me wondering why my fiance was being really distant and quiet on this random Tuesday morning. And then the drop hits, and it's like, oh, found out he was planning to kill me on this day. And it's like, what the fuck?
What the fuck?
But it's like, if someone's planning to kill you, but they didn't end up going through with it for whatever reason, should they be vaporized?
They should be punished. I don't know if they should be vaporized.
They should go to therapy.
Also, reading through the comments, apparently he only spent 1 day in jail. So that's cool.
Not a day.
Is planning to kill.
I mean, I guess that goes really into the whole thing of thought crime, basically.
Yeah, is making steps toward a crime a crime?
I think so.
I think obviously thinking about doing a crime
is digging the hole a crime.
If you write
digging the hole is in fact a crime. You cannot do that.
If you put on your calendar like July 30th, I'm going to murder my fiance. I think that's a crime. Pretty sure that's a crime.
No, I would.
Like I know that like if you pay, like as soon as monetary values are in the equation, like if you pay a hitman, like that's the line, like that is that's you're going to jail.
What if I don't pay a hitman, but I pay a random stranger to go buy a shovel for me so that I can dig the hole? Is that a crime?
I don't think so.
I honestly don't think it is.
Man.
Like, I mean, with the way the justice system works is pretty, broken. So honestly, I don't think you would go down.
I think it's at least a question.
If you make like a Google Excel spreadsheet on how your budget's going to work and send out like an email to the Hitman's website and be like, hey, are you available this month?
Hitman.com.
Is that illegal?
I think
it's...
I truly don't think it is, or at least it's not going to be a very hefty, like you're not going to go to prison for it. You might get a misdemeanor and have to pay a fine.
Well, what if you're just like, what's your budget? Like, what's your rate?
What's your rate?
Right.
You're just searching. You're just
getting an estimate.
I don't think that's illegal.
You're on hitmen.com and you're just browsing. Like I didn't put anything in the cart, but I was looking.
As soon as you put that shit in your cart, though, as soon as you type
it's like
in one
asking
digit
a
on your
Best Buy
credit card,
representative which phone you should get.
Do you have a discount for using like rifles or pistols?
Oh God,
this got really dark. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would be cool with Amit if Amit wiped out people after the credit card went through.
Yeah, but they don't get too deep into it because I think they don't like in a lot of stories like this they get into it very deeply of like, oh, is it predetermined, like do you have the choice? And that, like, I think Minority Report was kind of like very deeply discussing that.
I mean, that was the whole point of that movie.
Theme. Yeah, but this is just like, nope, choice. Like Mark or Steven just hits Hera right back with like, nah, choice. Like, and they just resolve it right there.
Girl,
like,
you weird. Flawed. You're also a crocodile. Yeah. Bye. And that's how the story went going.
And they didn't kill everybody that deserved it. They killed, well, actually, no, that's not true because they killed the soldiers at that like checkpoint, but then one of them does stay.
Because he was like a pure soul. He was not evil. He wasn't going to do anything in his future or whatever.
Right.
That's my thing. I want to know the threshold of her crimes. It's like, oh, he's going to jaywalk in January 27th. Suck him up. And it's like, what the fuck? Like... Because a lot of those souls started disappearing when he got his army of followers to start touching people. And I was like, wait a second. Mm-hmm. That's that old lady? She about to do something bad? How? What the fuck?
I wonder if it goes as far as to like what, like if you have a child that's going to be like a serial killer when they're 40.
Suck that child up.
Like, do the scales do that? Like, do they kill you so you don't give birth?
So you don't give birth
Hitler too?
Oh my gosh, that's too deep.
Yeah. True.
No way.
We're all connected to bad stuff then. There's no way.
Oh, yeah. That's true. It would just go generational forever, How far do these scales measure up?
Yeah. And that's why, her logic is flawed at the end of the day. But I don't know. It was funny how in that fight, she had like a
she's got a big crocodile brain, so can you blame her?
She has to close her eyes when she bites.
I kind of liked her character design. I thought the crocodile kind of scary. Like, it's kind of a scary face. So that was kind of
I would say the CG's it wasn't horrible. It was pretty good for both. The hippo and the crocodile are obviously not as good as Khonshu because Khonshu's not like humanoid. Like, he's humanoid, but he doesn't have a mouth.
Decrepit? Why is he a skeleton?
I think that's just his look.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it has something to do with the actual I don't know.
I know he's one of the only ones in the comics that is also a skeleton, but I just want to know why.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is it because he was
banished?
I
do like that in the end credits he's wearing a suit because that is one of his like cool looks in the comics. And he's just donning the Mr. Knight suit. Yeah. Like, hey, what's up?
That was pretty
badass.
Yeah, I guess right before post credits and stuff. I thought the ending was honestly kind of anticlimactic when the credits first rolled before the post credits. I was just like, oh, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll release you, and then he just wakes up back in the apartment. And it's like, oh,
yeah, it was like boom, boom, boom. Where everything's
it was very
fixed.
Quick.
Yeah.
And as a person who loves an epilogue, I was like, oh, that was kind of.
I'm glad we got the epilogue.
Didn't you get to see if you're hanging out with Layla anymore?
Yeah. And if he's like still gonna be Moon Knight, a lot of questions. Yeah, and clearly yes, because all this time he thought Layla was the one that Khonshu wanted, but truly it was Jake because Jake's a fucking murderer. Right. So I guess he makes a deal with Jake on his own to be Moon Knight. So I guess you're right. He is still Moon Knight. But I have a theory. Yeah. I think that before the post credits, when he goes back into his mind to see Dr. Hera and then goes back to his apartment when everything's like hunky-dory. He wins the end. I feel like that maybe both those sequences and definitely the last sequence when he's back in his bed, I think that is in his mind and Jake is taking control of the body and mind and making him think like he's safe at home and everything's fine while he does Khonshu's bidding. Because why? Like, how would there be two fish in there? Who put the fish in there? Right?
I assumed that's just like they each got a fish now.
Yeah, but who
That's
got
what
the
I
fish for
in
them?
harmony.
Neither of them.
You can go buy fish.
Both of them were surprised when they were back in the apartment. So like
That's
neither
fair,
of them
yeah.
could have got the fish.
That's true.
Maybe
Yeah.
Jake got the fish, put them to bed to make them feel like
Put
either
them
way.
to bed.
Either way,
Like toddlers.
if it's
He
real
tucked them
or
in.
not, if it's real or not, Jake is clearly in control of the situation.
Yeah.
Also, what job are they going to go with now? Are they going to be a mercenary again, or are they going to go back to the library or the museum and get his old job?
I don't know if they're
That's
going to any
true.
job. I think Jake's just hitman now.
I mean, he got fired from the library, to be fair.
I don't know
library,
if
the museum.
superhero pays much money. Like
Yeah.
aside from
But
Iron
also,
Man,
we've
everybody's
established
pretty
that
broke.
Mark has like a shit ton of money from being a mercenary. So
True. He has
That's
all those
true.
like
he'll be all right for now.
yeah.
That's
He
true.
has that,
He
like,
almost
that
threw that
bunker.
bag away though.
Canonically,
True.
in the comic books, he actually gets super rich from gambling. He has a
Really?
gambling problem.
Yeah. So Jake kills Harrow. So that's the end of him and Amit. And that's it. Jake, they did have the cool the Spectre mobile, his car that he usually rides around the city in, which is a nice touch. Which is funny.
It said Spectre on the back. That kind of pissed me off.
Yeah.
And we'll see if they haven't announced the season 2, but I would imagine they're gonna do something with this character. At least I hope so.
Yeah.
Real quick, to rattle off the couple things that they said that they wanted to include was they were gonna have the Eternals in this at some point.
Well,
Specifically, Kumail Nanjiani's character Kingo, and because obviously the Eternals have been there for a long time, they're going to be a giant, like epic scale Egyptian god battle, and apparently some of the Eternals were going to be in that battle, seeing the gods and
That would have
stuff.
been super cool.
But obviously
Dang.
they were like, "This is way over budget. We can't do this."
Oh, man, that would have been so cool.
That apparently Echo from Daredevil was going to be the love interest at one point instead of Layla.
That would have been stupid.
Yeah, that'd have been weird. I get because they were trying to get her. The people liked her character and they wanted to see more of her. But I'm glad that she's getting her own show, so I'm glad we got to see another woman and not just cycle that one woman throughout these TV shows. And then the last thing, and this is because of a scheduling thing, is that they're going to have a reference to Thor: Love and Thunder, and I would imagine it specifically a gore reference. Apparently, the gods were going to talk about. Oh, there's this guy going around killing gods. Apparently, something to that aspect. But that was just because this was apparently supposed to come out after Thor: Love and Thunder. But then obviously scheduling and COVID and everything, they had to cut that and stuff. So I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But so maybe we'll see some of these Egyptian gods return in Thor: Love and Thunder as
that would be really cool.
Might get
That would be
axed at
cool.
some point.
I don't really want to see them. I don't want to see the crocodile was cool or whatever. I don't think I need to see that in some other movies. I think it's gonna look real goofy.
I would love to
be
see
cool.
some of these Egyptian gods and or the Black Panther god connected to the rest of the cinematic universe.
I like
Yeah,
to
that
see the
would be
hippo.
really cool.
She was funny.
She was funny. Yeah. She was cute.
It'd
Yeah.
be cool. It'd be cool to just play around more with that. Like I always like when there's like a mythology. That's what I kind of wish they would get into with like the Wonder Woman movies. Like I thought that each movie would kind of do like introduce like a new god of the Greek gods, and they didn't really. They kind of hinted at it, but they didn't. Then they kind of walked it back. But I think if Moon Knight continued that, I think it'd be kind of fun to have some new gods enter the picture.
We've already gone like what is it, cosmic? So why not just go mythical at this point?
I will say, no offense, but the Field of Reeds Paradise Afterlife looks really boring.
Yes.
Yeah, she was like,
that's the point.
you have no more desires or loneliness. I'm like, dude is clearly still like distraught and lonely, like, and also bored. Like, what's he gonna do?
It's just
There's nobody
you
else
think
there?
he'd be surrounded with other people that are there, but it's like, nah, just
no
you.
family members in this paradise. It's like maybe his version of paradise is just like alone.
Right,
Being
leave me the
alone.
fuck alone, quiet for the first time in my life.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely would be a thing for him. Maybe it's paradise because it's a grass field with grass that high that didn't have like snakes or mosquitoes. Like that would be a pretty amazing
I would
thing
get
to
tired of
experience.
that paradise in about a day, maybe less.
I was about to say, that sounds like 30 minutes.
I was like, can we skip around to other
30 minutes.
paradises?
Like everybody's wanted to walk through a grass field, but like if you do that, you're gonna get like 37 bug bites. You're gonna get bitten by copperhead. Like it's not gonna be a good time.
37 bug bites.
Listen, man, the bugs got to go to heaven too. Come on, man. That's their
All
paradise,
bugs
is
go to
eating you.
heaven.
Yeah.
Oh no, no, they have their own separate bug paradise.
No, plot twist.
I definitely wonder what how people feel about the mental health aspect of the show, because I haven't really read upon people's reception of it. I'm assuming there are definitely people that are like, this is terrible, and because that's how things go. There's always
I personally, as someone with mental illness, I think they treated it pretty well. It's an interesting play on basically a disability, which I think is kind of cool. They've changed basically how he got dissociative identity disorder a little bit by basically being like, my mom sucks and I, killed my brother, and as opposed to being like, I met a literal fucking Nazi that was going to kill me. It's like, that's pretty different. That's fair. But other than that, because that's usually my biggest thing is they tend to, when they glamorize the mental illness issues, they tend to just be really fucking heavy-handed in like the worst way possible. This one felt pretty it's a very serious illness, don't get me wrong, but it felt like they actually did it in a way that I think that someone with this illness would be like, it'd be like that.
And I think that's one thing is that I don't know how this character interacts with the Avengers.
That's my thing. Is I love it as it's contained, and then there's like him and Thor. Like what? That just something which is funny because he fights Thor in the comics. That's a whole thing. But I think I would hate this if they brought him into the main world with the main.
For one thing, he's a murderer.
he definitely does not stand by the code.
And two, I feel like if he does ever get into like an Avengers scenario, that's where I fear they might just everything about his DID is just out the window. I think at that point, and it's all superhero type stuff. So, and I don't know how people would.
And that's what it's already kind of happening now that like him and whatchamacallit are joined like completely. Him and Steven, Mike and Steven, where it's like now it's not dissociative identity disorder anymore. Now it's just I'm using my multiple personalities together. Like that's not what that is.
Yeah, and it's cliche, and I still don't know how I 100% feel about the line where he says, he tells Steven, "You are my greatest superpower." Right before, when he comes back to life, right before they leave, I'm like, that's something I've definitely like. That's a cliche where it's like my disability is my greatest power type of thing.
Don't diss my ability.
Like, I don't know
that kind of bullshit. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Moon Knight. I don't know if you guys have any other last final thoughts.
Good show. Would recommend.
Yeah, liked it a lot.
I definitely want to see more of this character, though. I thought this was fun and interesting. Definitely like one of the most darker and more poignant Marvel shows.
Yeah, that's a really good standard along with Loki and WandaVision. But this one's so different, so it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see what shows come out next.
Take more risks. That's what I want to see.
Damn, Oscar Isaac's good.
Yeah, he carried the shit out of this. I will. Or not.
I hope. Can he get he should be nominated for like best actor for this show, right? Like what? Other
I think based off episode 5, I thought he was fucking amazing.
What other shows are out right now that has like this scale, high level acting? Like I can't think of any this year.
And for a lot of it, it's just him.
That's the funniest part about it.
Yeah. He's carrying this whole thing.
It was immersive enough that he was on the screen twice, and I consider them two separate characters.
Yeah,
and neither of them I considered Oscar Isaac. Like that's.
I will say, like between this and Doctor Strange, and I can't remember one other thing, they've gotten a lot better at showing two people at the same time without it looking weird as shit. You know what I mean? Where it's like two Oscar Isaacs on screen. It's like they've gotten that a lot better now.
There's a lot of tricks you can do, like with putting camera on like a dolly. Obviously, is a good way to keep it like stabilized. But whenever you introduce movement, you want to have that movement the same so that you can do it with the actor in the same spot, so you can mask it. So it's a really popular trend to put like the camera on a robot, like a robotic arm, and then put that on a dolly. So then you like program the computer move, and then it just repeats perfectly every single time.
That's pretty cool.
So you could totally tell when they do movement, like how specifically like it's still, but it's also like very like exact versus other times where they're like on a steady cam and it's like a little bit more floaty.
There is one particular shot in this, and there are probably a couple more where you can tell it's like, oh, there's clearly like a line, a barrier separating the two Oscar Isaacs on purpose.
Yeah. Just draw a little box and like, okay, we'll delete this one.
Yeah. But for the most part, not bad, pretty good. All right, that was Moon Knight. Shall we move on to a next segment of the show? Which, real quick, Devin, it's back. You got 1 minute because it's time for Devin's 1 minute. Hell no on Halo.
All right, hold on.
All right, are you ready, Devin? The biggest sigh in the world.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
All right, you ready? Go.
Okay, so I know I've already bitched about the Master Chief taking off his helmet too much. Today, I decided to set a timer for for when he put his helmet on, how long it would take to take it off. And you know how long it took? Fucking 12 seconds. He gets off the ship. They're going to this planet. They're like, hey, we got to go explore this planet. He's like, cool, puts the helmet on. I'm like, yes, maybe for a few minutes he'll have it on. They roll up the Warthog, literally 6 seconds later. He gets out of the Warthog, immediately takes his helmet off. They don't know how to write a character to save their ass without, like, Mandalorian, they did it perfectly of, like, how to characterize somebody without, like, to show emotion without having to do facial expressions or a lot of words, okay? They know how to write that, all right? This show, they couldn't write their way out of, so, I don't know. That's a bad analogy, but they couldn't write anything, okay? They suck. They have to show his face constantly. He has to lay out everything immediately, like explicitly to your face, very on the nose. They even
all right, shut up, you're done.
I will have much more to say about the show when we talk about it. I fucking hate it.
Thank you, Devin.
It's the 12 seconds to take off the helmet thing that is hilarious to me.
That's
good. Such a short amount of time. That's ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Like, just keep it off. Just keep
it off at this point, right?
Master Chief.
Now that I think about it, that might be our last edition of Devin's 1 minute Hell No on Halo, because I think we might be covering the show next week.
Oh, God.
So Devin will get an episode of Hell No on Halo quite soon, possibly.
Good.
But with that, shall we move on to our final segment of the week?
Mm-hmm.
Which we like to call Free For All. Title pending. This is a segment, everyone, where we can kind of do whatever we want. We can rant, we can talk about our day, we can recommend something. Kind of do whatever we want. It's a free-for-all. Who'd like to go first?
I can go first.
I'll go first.
No.
Whoa.
I'll go first.
Sudden death.
No, it doesn't. You can go first.
You go first.
Okay. First. I appreciate you. Anywho, I'm trying to get back into my weekly thing of watching a movie that I haven't seen before, because you guys know that I suck at watching movies. I kind of fell off for a little bit, but I wanted to get back into it. So it was actually last week. I watched probably one of the worst films I have ever seen before in my life.
No. Oh, no.
This film came out in 2021, and that film is called Karen. It is basically a movie about the stereotype of American Karen, quote unquote. The white lady that likes to, be a piece of shit and ruin everyone's life because their life sucks.
Oh, no.
And they characterize that into an actual whole ass hour and a half movie.
Doesn't sound very fun to watch.
Ooh, 2.7. It's got a 2.7 on IMDb.
That's actually better than I expected.
What the hell is the plot?
The main antagonist, the Karen, is played by Taryn.
I'm looking at the poster. It says it's got a picture of a white lady's face, and it says "crazy, entitled, racist Karen."
Yes, the Karen is Taryn Manning, who you might know from being the crackhead in Orange is the New Black or the crackhead in Hustle and Flow. She loves to play just really awful characters. That's just her MO. I just learned apparently she's from Falls Church, Virginia, so that's cool. I just learned that about her.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, she plays Karen, and this movie is about racism, because of course it is. And
oh, boy.
The biggest issue the reason I watched this movie is because I saw a random clip about it on Instagram or something like that, where people were making fun of it. And I thought it was just like, maybe one of those like internet shorts or something, not knowing that this was a full movie that someone made to completion and put out into the world for whatever reason. And holy shit, it sucks. So it's about this family, this black family. They move to the ritzier part of the neighborhood, moving on up, that kind of situation going on there. And they meet their neighbor. And it's this white lady that just fucking sucks. And what kind of makes me mad about this movie is the black people have like nondescript jobs, kind of. I don't even know what the dude does, but the wife is like a blogger or something that makes a ton of money. And they are blackety black. Like, they wanted to make it. Every single time they showed up on that scene, they were like, yes, I love my black, beautiful woman. You are the best black. You're so black, girl. We black. We are here. We are rich and black. And I was like, okay, we get it. You're black people. That's awesome. I love that for you.
On the nose.
But it just got so goofy because every single time they popped up, everything was just so on the nose. So at one point, this lady invites herself into their housewarming party. And of course, everyone at the housewarming party is the blackest motherfucker people you ever met before in your life. They are black. And they talk about everything. They hit every single point. They're like, oh, we want to talk about Black Lives Matter. We want to talk about politics. We want to talk about them shooting people in the streets. We want to talk about soul food, everything that was just black. And then this white lady just says all the worst things that you'd expect a Karen to say, being like, all lives matter. And like shit like that.
Oh, no.
Her brother's a racist cop. It's just,
of course.
It's just everything is so awful.
So it's just all too.
Did Tyler Perry make this movie?
So I found out at the very end because I didn't know who made this movie, and then the credits rolled, and it said BET original movie, and I was like, "Yep,
damn,
it all makes sense now." It's basically the black version of a Lifetime movie.
I don't understand why anybody would want to make like this. This all just happened, and it's still so triggering, and like,
and that's the thing is this movie says nothing. It adds nothing to the conversation. It does nothing to the conversation. The woman is racist. It escalates to the point where she's trying to basically murder these black people because she just doesn't like them. It's all because she apparently black people
move into like a slasher movie?
Basically into like a weird like thriller movie. It's so fucking stupid. And in the end, she gets shot and she dies, and it's stupid. It's so stupid. The cop ends up.
I can't believe you spoiled this movie.
Spoilers for Karen. Sorry, everybody. But
I'm
everything
sorry you watch this. That sounds really toxic.
Everything that happens is like exactly what you expect to happen. Of course, the cop arrests the black man. Of course, they plant drugs on him. Of course, they call him boy. Like, it's just everything to just make you just mad as shit. The entire hour and a half of this damn movie.
Jesus.
I would recommend it to absolutely no one unless you either want to be very upset or just, I don't know, want to laugh at something stupid, because it is stupid. I can't believe a script was written and then a camera was shot towards anybody to make this movie.
That's pretty wild.
That's funny.
Damn.
That sucks.
They got nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst Actress, Worst Screenplay, and Worst Ripoff. I just looked at the bottom.
What's it ripping off?
I guess maybe what is that Samuel L. Jackson movie? Lakeside Terrace? Is that what it's called? Something Terrace. Lakeview Terrace.
Interesting.
What Academy awards those awards?
It's the Golden Raspberry Awards.
Oh, the okay, yeah.
That sounds like something we should do, like worst of the year. Worst.
We considered that.
Man,
I think it's still a good idea.
Damn, dude. Well, I'm sorry you had to watch that.
I'm not mad that I watched it, but holy shit, I would never make anyone else watch it. Yeah. Unless you make it a drinking game or something stupid. Oof. You got to do something to make it.
That doesn't sound fun at all. I said, it just sounds like triggering and like just not a good time.
Just in succession. I'm telling you, every minute something was said to piss you off. Every single minute.
Like, I get frustrated enough, like, just looking at Facebook sometimes, like, or the news, like, don't need this fictional frustration as well.
Wait, how long is that movie? It better not be more than 90 minutes.
It's exactly 90 minutes, I'm pretty sure.
Well, I hope you can watch something better next time.
Yes.
I mean, watching garbage TV is fun, but this sounds like a totally different genre.
Right. My idea was that it was going to be entertaining, that I was going to be entertained.
Sure.
I was not entertained from the badness of it. But I will be watching a movie today, and we'll figure out what I'm going to watch, and then I'll probably let you guys know.
Cool. Well, I'll go next. I got a totally different thing that I've been enjoying the past couple of days. As we all probably are aware, Kendrick Lamar just dropped a new album on Friday, a couple of days ago.
Hell yeah.
And it's taken the internet by storm. I've been listening to it a lot. I need to listen to it a whole lot more, but I've been enjoying it. I'm a big fan of his since back in 2010 when he first started getting big. Been following him for a while, and I've loved a lot of his albums, all of his albums that he's been putting out. And he's like one of the, obviously one of the biggest and most successful and like most talented rappers of our generation, arguably of all time. He's like just a phenomenal artist. And I love how all of his albums are kind of like telling a story, and that they're like more conceptual, a conceptual vision versus just a track of a bunch of like good songs. They all kind of have like a similar message, and show a particular like story and a body of work from album to album. So his first one was like Section 80. It was kind of like about growing up in the 80s and also in the projects, and kind of how the growing up in and around the crack epidemic affected him and his peers, like around the time when they were growing up. Good Kid, Mad City was kind of like somewhat continuing that, where he's just talking about the effects of gang violence and his adolescent life. To Pimp a Butterfly is kind of about the music industry and its effect on artists and how he's been, a part of the system where he's being hustled and how he has to like deal with that. Damn was kind of like, I'm still kind of processing Damn, which came out in 2017. It's been like 5 years since he released anything. Damn is kind of like a big like circle of life thing, it seems like, where they kind of play with a lot of motifs of playing things back and forth. It seems like Christopher Nolan could have directed this album if he wanted to. It's like playing with time elements. There's a couple articles talking about how if you play the track list from the last song first and then the first song last, play it backwards, it makes more sense conceptually. And a few months like after that article, he like posted or released a different version of the album in that same order.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives it a more meaning to the story. It kind of like just tells a story of like a person's life and like coming to terms with like life and death and like the different chapters and stuff. And it seems like this new album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, is kind of almost a continuation of that. It's kind of talking a lot about like social injustice, sexual abuse, coming to terms with life and like the different things that he has personally had to endure, domestic abuse, a lot of really like triggering and traumatizing things that are possibly in his life and definitely in a lot of like lower income families. A lot of people that are in the Black community can probably relate to. So it seems like he's talking to the Black community throughout this album and confessing a lot of his own like inner guilts and stuff like that. And this is also the last album for the label that he's been signed with, TDE, Top Dog Entertainment. So after this, he's done with them and starting a new label. I think it's like Pang Lang or something, some kind of weird words. So this is kind of like, he's got 5 albums with this one company, and it seems like they all kind of tell the story of his life, like from beginning to end, from being a kid to like dying in Damn, and now this Mr. Morale and Big Steppers, I kind of see as like his perspective on life as he's in the afterlife or whatever. It's very theoretical, and I still have to listen to it a dozen more times to digest a little bit more. But
so you can make a whole solo podcast just talking about your theories on this.
I really dig his music, and like I said, I'm still digesting Mr. Morale, but I think that those other albums, you can find those examples online anywhere. They're pretty they're a little bit more clear cut with their depictions. But like I said, I think myself and the internet are still digesting the new one. Mm-hmm. But like with all that theory aside, I really enjoy a lot of the songs. It's a great album. I don't think that I like it as much as I like To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn. Like, it's a great album, but it seems like there's not like enough like heavy hitters like that make you really want to like just like they're all great vibes. And like it's like a more smooth, easy listening, almost like a jazz album, which a lot of his songs are very jazz influenced and like really slow builds. But I don't know, something about like the track list and Damn especially like just really like got you fucking hyped. And like All Right and To Pimp a Butterfly was like such an anthem. But like I said, there's a lot of great songs in here still. There's just none of them are like hitting me like, holy shit, like this song right here is like the epitome of the album right now.
Right.
But it's still a great album. Conceptually, it's a great album. There's one song where he talks about coming to terms with and understanding the transition that some of his family members have and sexually transitioning from different genders, and how he, used to not understand that and make fun of people like that. And now as an adult, he can like understand where they're coming from and accept them and stuff, and how the world should, just accept people and live through humanity and not necessarily other means.
There's some controversy around that song.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy for
he
sure.
He uses a slur quite a few times in that song.
Yep.
And I understand artistically what's being done there, but I can also understand the dislike for using that word, period.
Right.
Totally. Like you definitely didn't you can make that song without throwing in that slur, but he throws it in as an example of what he used to say. But like you said, like we're both saying, you don't have to, but he's making that choice. There's also, I think I have a bigger problem actually with one of the featured artists that he has on there multiple times, which he's getting a lot of backlash for as well. Kodak Black. He got charged for like sexually assaulting a minor in South Carolina. I can't remember when this was, but it was like within the past year or so.
Yeah, right.
He ended up taking a plea deal, so he's like officially guilty.
Right.
He was on probation for like he didn't. I don't think he even went to prison, which is a shame. But yeah, he's like a featured artist on like one song, an interlude, and then his voice. He's technically in like 3 tracks, which is more than any other like featured artist on his album. I'm just trying to understand like why. He talks a lot about social abuse and how people and how it's not okay, how he has dealt with sexual abuse, how his family's dealt with sexual abuse, and how like traumatizing that is. And he also talks about like how nobody's perfect, himself included. I guess he's saying that, you know, sexual abusers aren't perfect either, but it's just like, I just don't agree with what's the point in giving this person another platform?
Random
like, I just don't get it.
A lot of realms, considering Kodak Black isn't even the same echelon of rapper as
no way.
Kendrick Lamar. Like this.
So
dude,
he's definitely doing like putting him on his albums on purpose for the controversy and for the point that
is that who do you think
just
literally
to make a point? I don't think he's collaborating with him because he likes his music. I think he's collaborating with him because he's trying to make a point. Like who listens to Kodak Black?
Yeah.
I used to way back in the day. He had a couple songs that I thought kind of hit, but he's not a good rapper by any means.
I was never really a fan. He's got
that
garbage.
stupid voice. He's got a baby voice that's really annoying, and apparently he also likes babies, so that's even worse.
Right. Anyway, I just think that he's doing it for a specific reason, and I've been trying to figure out what that reason could be. I can't come up with anything though.
I hope you're wrong. Like it, because that would really dampen my opinion on Kendrick if he thinks that that's an okay thing to be that verbal about. But yeah, I've only listened to a few cuts of the song of the album so far, just because I mostly listen to music in my car, and my car is for bangers only, baby. And these aren't really banger songs yet, so I kind of get where you're coming from.
I feel like a lot of his albums are meant to be listened to like from beginning to end, more or less. Like you know,
reading a book.
Totally listen to music however you want to listen to music. But I think the point of a lot of his music is to like you said, it's a book, it's a story, you gotta listen to it from start to finish if you can, and in order if you can. But ain't
nobody got time for that.
A lot of people don't got time for that. I made some time to digest it and do some reading about it. But
no, that's cool.
Like I said, I just have a problem with that artist. It was a big surprise to me, and I can't understand.
And also, he sucks at music. Like, that's Not to like discredit, like, you know, that he's a terrible person and he shouldn't have a limelight. But also, it's just like, even thematically, it doesn't make any sense to me. Kodak Black is so left field compared to that artist. Like,
right.
Go off, dude. I hope it's not because he wants to make a point, because that point sucks.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
But anyway, other than that, I've been enjoying the album and not trying to not let that featured artist diminish the rest of the album. I'm wondering how the world and critics are going to receive it in the days and years to come. I think it's getting a lot of praise, but I think it's also getting a lot of backlash. I know his last album, Damn, got like, I think a Pulitzer Prize or a Piltzer Prize. Pulitzer. I don't know exactly what that is, but I know it's like a super prestigious award for music. I think it's like only classical albums or jazz albums have ever won. So it's the first time like a pop album, especially especially a rap album of any kind has gotten like recognized. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I haven't listened to any of it, but I'm probably going to now.
Yeah, you should check it out.
Nice. I'll go real quick next. Mine is very different. Very than that. Mine is just I played more Bugsnax.
Did you really?
Oh my god!
Didn't you 100% that game?
I did, but they released like a couple weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago or something. They released their free update, which was their Island of Big Snacks, like story based free update. And I played just a little bit. I haven't finished or any of it yet. But I was like, hey, nice short little. I hear it's not very long, so I was like, I could dedicate a little bit of time to this. So I got back into it. It's more Bugsnax, and you know, I love Bugsnax.
I have it downloaded. It's next on my list to play after I finish Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Nice, you should, man. That sounds
fun.
It's a nice little palate cleanser.
Yeah, you said it's a quick burn, so that makes me feel a little bit better too. That I won't be spending, dozens of hours trying to play this game.
No. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's me.
Well, I can go last real quick. I just wanted to tell you guys about. I watched this YouTube video about it was a breakdown of this scene from a horror movie, a Japanese horror movie called Pulse, and the scene terrified me. And I think as Alex, as a lighting expert, and everybody has movie critiques and kind of stuff, I thought you guys might be interested to hear about what the guy takes you through the cinematography of it. But basically, it's this guy in this alley, and without any special effects or any weird stuff, they had the ballet dancer, she's up against the wall behind this staircase, and she wasn't there at first, right? And then the scene shoots back, and you see this outline of a person in a dress, right, in the shadow, and then she just kind of starts walking towards him in slow motion, and then she stumbles, and when she stumbles, her face comes into light, and you can briefly see her face. But I just thought it was kind of down a YouTube rabbit hole, but it was very interesting and well done. I thought that was just kind of cool to bring to the group, because it was without any special effects or anything else, and it was one of the creepiest things I've ever seen. So I think I'll maybe try to watch that movie at some point. But
what's it called again?
It's called Pulse.
The movie's called Pulse.
Do not mistake it for the American remake with Kristen Bell. That movie is atrocious.
It's a Japanese
one. Called the same thing?
It's called Pulse. I was okay. I remember this movie, but I don't remember it being
Kristen
Japanese.
Bell.
We had a remake was made about it in the early 2000s, and it was really fucking bad. It was notoriously one of the worst horror movies ever come out.
No.
Right.
So that's why I had to look it up. You said that. I was like, that movie's not good.
It just did a really good job of doing the uncanny valley, where it's this thing is human, but it's not quite human. And they just did it without, just doing it just with a person, an actor, a well-done actor, and a good lighting setup, and just everything like that. Man, it was really scary, and I kind of wanted to watch this movie now to be scared out of my mind.
Word.
Because it's so much different from American horror, where it just relies only on jump scares and scary faces and stuff like that.
Things that scare you. Anyway. Creepy nuns and old women.
Exactly. Old ladies. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't want to watch this movie because it sounds horrific, but I might watch the scene you just talked about.
I can send you the YouTube link.
Cool. I'd like to see the YouTube link, and then I'll decide whether or not it's too scary for me to
watch. Yeah.
But yes, that is the show, everyone. You can email us at thefortressof@gmail.com. Fortress spelled FOUR. Feel free to email us any questions or feedback, recommendations, or anything of the sort. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, also at the Fourtress of, and the Fourtress of YouTube channel. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your grandma, tell your cat. I was gonna say tell your other selves, but that's Moon Knight, whatever. Never mind.
Yeah, tell your alter ego. Let them out. Let the other person inside watch as well. Mm-hmm. Or listen. What are we doing?
I don't know what we're doing at this point.
What platform are we on?
If you want to check me out, or you let your other person inside your head check me out, you can look at your phone and go to Instagram and follow me on Peterson Films.
Mm-hmm.
You can also look at my website, petersonfilms.com. It's got my cinematography if you want to check out some of my stuff.
Nice. You can actually only find me if you use your iPad, specifically the really big ones.
No, iPod. So they're going to go away, so you got to get them now.
Yes. Get your iPod right now. They're probably still $300 for no reason. Then you're going to go on there. You're going to click on, Safari or whatever the fuck iPhones use. And you're going to go to Instagram.com/ITZ_by the way. You can also find me on Twitch.tv/by the way.
For me, just go to whatever social media the Halo show has and just look at the comments.
Oh,
because they're all Devin.
No. It's all me.
I don't even think they talk about the TV show.
Folding laundry somewhere
in somebody's closet.
Maybe with sheets on his bed. I have sheets on my bed right now. Actually, change them today.
That's good to know, Devin.
I don't really have sheets on my bed right now. I'm doing laundry currently. So.
Thank you, Brian, for the art. Thank you, Alex, for the music. Devin, thank you for being here as usual, and thanks Jackie for helping sound edit the podcast every week. Happy holidays, everyone, and put a coat on. It's cold out there.
I got them shorts on, boy, sweating my balls.
Mm-hmm.
Glad to have you back, Brian.
Never mind. I'm sorry.
All right, that's it, everyone. We'll see you next week here in another episode of The Fourtress of.